the wrong house to try and verify his place of residence. Mokgosi's lawyer, William Sakhaja, says the confusion was due to the fact that his client's home is located on tribal land and the officers went to a house a few minutes away from his.
This causes confusion and has caused confusion in the past, which is why I supplied a PIN location. My wife's number was also furnished by my attorney of record to the investigating officer. On Tuesday, the 19th of May, 2026, I did so with the hope that the investigating officer will attend to phone my wife should he experience any difficulties with the said address.
State Prosecutor Tamim Bekana says the investigating officers need a few days to travel to Mahikeng in the northwest to verify Mokgosi's address.
The state is aware that the bail application is urgent. However, Your Worship, this is not what the state has created because the state was not given the address on numerous occasions. So the fault cannot squarely lie on the state.
Staying in the courts, a co-accused in the trial of alleged underworld gang boss Nafis Modak today admitted he lied to police about aspects of his case. Modak's alleged middleman Ziad Paul is testifying in his own defense today. Paul is among the 14 alleged accomplices on trial with Modak for various crimes related to operating a criminal empire. Carlo Peterson has more.
Ziad Pool faces more than 20 charges related to allegedly orchestrating murders and other crimes on behalf of Nafis Modak. The state believes Pool received payments from Modak to plan 2 murders, as well as the attacks on slain anti-gang detective Charles Kinnear, attorney William Booth, and underworld figure Andre Nordier. Nordier was killed in a drive-by shooting in Parow a year ago, but Pool denies the charges. He claims he was merely employed as a bodyguard in Modak's security team. He admits he lied about being Modak's driver on the day he was arrested in April 2021 because he was traumatized. Poole says he initially lodged a case against the Hawks related to Modak's arrest.
I spoke to the lawyers that said I told him, no, something's wrong. I wasn't the driver. Poole was close back, and that's what I done.
Poole told the court he also lied to the Hawks to avoid being arrested because he was in shock, although he later handed himself in. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News, Western Cape High Court.
Illegal mining and its subsequent consequences on road infrastructure and businesses is now tearing through the heart of the Roodepoort CBD, leaving business owners fearing their shops could collapse at any moment. Johannesburg Road Agency officials and Joburg Transport MMC Kinnikunene have discovered several illegal mining tunnels beneath parts of the CBD during an oversight inspection on the West Rand today. One of the most shocking discoveries was beneath a local butchery where illegal miners had dug a hole directly under the store in an apparent attempt to steal meat. Mungezi Koko is there.
The tunnel runs directly beneath the floor of the shop, with business owners now worried that the ground could cave in without warning. Officials say the suspects appear to have fled after spotting security cameras before they could take anything. But across parts of the Roodepoort CBD, the damage has already been done. Transport MMC Kenny Kunene.
That must be given RETEX, these rats underground. That's how they destroy the road infrastructure. That's how they are destroying houses here. That's how they are destroying buildings.
Open holes, collapsing ground and illegal excavations now pose a serious risk to businesses, motorists and pedestrians moving through the area every day. Mungezi Koko, Eyewitness News, Roodepoort.
And health authorities have successfully traced and contained hantavirus cases, with the identified contacts currently being monitored. Chairperson of Parliament's Select Committee on Social Services, Desiree Feeney, says authorities have implemented comprehensive contact tracing measures with most of the identified contacts. Feeney was addressing a social cluster briefing in Parliament today, where she commended health authorities.
These developments demonstrate the strength of the country's surveillance systems and highlight the importance of sustained investment in institutions.
She says South Africans should also rest assured that there's no cause for panic.
There is no cause for panic. The situation is under control and is being closely monitored by health authorities.
Gold's trading at $4,565.10 an ounce. The rand's at 16.31 to the dollar, at 22.02 to the pound, at exactly 19 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $97.28 a barrel.
In Bedfordview, there's been an accident on the N12 West before the Gululis interchange, slowing down traffic. In the same area, there's queuing traffic on the N3 South between the Gululis interchange and Van Buren Road.
And in your sport, second star, the Mamelodi Sundowns headed home with their CAF Champions League trophy with them following success in Morocco. Jared Bowen laments a poor West Ham form following Premier League relegation. Stormers bring home Cheslin Colby, and George Russell embarrassed by trackside behaviour.
Look at your weather. It's a partly cloudy Monday afternoon across Gauteng. Today, temperatures are peaking at highs between 21 and 23 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour: alleged political fixer Brown Mokgotsi will be spending at least another 3 days behind bars after his bail application was postponed to Thursday.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Visit primemediaplus.com to enter 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Josie.
For Joburg, by Joburg, in Joburg.
Bamise bonke.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
A very good afternoon to all of you. It's 8 minutes past 3 on Monday, the 25th of May. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope this week, Monday, is off to a decent start. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you're listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. Ministers in the Justice and Security Cluster are meeting right now to look at the growing tensions around illegal immigration. But is there anything government can do about this? Has it gone way beyond any governmental remedies? Of course, Ikona Malinga Mnisi is watching that story. He'll join us as soon as the doors open and they get some idea of what has been discussed. Speaking of talks, the US and Iran are both sounding a little bit more positive about the possibility of talks that might lead to talks about some kind of lasting peace. Professor James Kerr-Lindsay joins us with his take at 10 to 5. Back home, last week, Public Protector Koleka Taleka laid bare the failure to put public funds to effective use and fix Charlotte Maxeke Hospital after that terrible fire all those years ago. This is what she had to say.
We actually found governance, maladministration, but also the lack of accountability. Wherein immediately after the fire broke out, the Department of Health obviously handed over the academic hospital to the Department of Infrastructure and Development in line with their mandate for repairs, basically doing public works and maintenance in public infrastructure. And what happened there is that, first and foremost, there was no collaboration in terms of the work that needed to be done.
Well, it was bad enough what the public protector had to say, but it could well be even worse than that. Professor Adam Mohammed, who's worked at Charlotte Maxeke for many, many years, has spoken out publicly about what he's seen and what he believes needs to be put right. He's our guest after 4. It really was a big and rather special weekend for South African football. On Saturday, we had this.
They've won 3 this time around. The dancers will continue long into the night. They would have loved to have done this in Orlando last week. They were denied that opportunity, but they're doing it at Mbombela today. Congratulations, Orlando Pirates, 25-26 Betway Premiership champions. It was definitely worth the wait.
Okay, so Pirates on Saturday, ending 8 years of dominance by Mamelodi Sundowns as far as the Betway Premiership is concerned. But then on Sunday night for Masandawana, well, there was this.
Amazing. I'm so proud of the entire team, the Motsepe family, the Masandawana, the players, the technical team. So many years, we kept knocking, we kept going. We fell short so many times, semi-finals back-to-back. Lost in the finals. It's not easy. It's so difficult to motivate yourself, to go again, to fight again. And we know how difficult it is to win the CAF Champions League. It's not for everyone. It's difficult. And for us to go back to back speaks volumes of the character that we have as a team. So I'm so proud to be one of the players associated with this club.
Yeah, Ronwen Williams talking after an extraordinary team performance, buoyed by a quite extraordinary save. Well, once again, he showed himself to be a quite remarkable stopper of penalties. Sundowns, African champions for the second time. We'll talk about those games at 10 to 4, and then I've got a couple of questions for you of my own that I'm looking forward to getting your feedback. If you want to, in the meanwhile, just talk about those two games and what you felt about them, give me a call on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. I suppose appropriately, given that we had the African club champions decided last night, today is Africa Day. We always end the show with music. So on Africa Day, do you have a favorite artist from elsewhere on the continent? A favorite song, perhaps one like this?
My generation, la naissance d'une génération. You are a need.
The sounds there of Papa Wemba. Now maybe you have a favorite singer, song from elsewhere on our continent. Start sending us those names and selections, please. We'll talk about them onwards from about 20 to 6. But we can never get your selections soon enough. That way we can dig out the music. On the markets today, the JSE is off to a near perfect start to the week. Listen to this. The All Share is up. Way up. The rand is stronger. Oil is cheaper, much cheaper. And gold and platinum have bounced back. What's not to like? Let's start with the All Share, up today by 2,820 points. That's a gain of 2.5%. Financials have picked up by 2.1%. The Resources Index up by 4.1%. Some of the winners, Implats up by 6%, Valterra by 5.7%, Sibanye by 5.6%. All of that off the back of a $41.20 spike in the platinum price, and there has been as well a $46.16 rise in the price of gold. On the downside, Pick n Pay has lost 4%, Sasol down by 3%. The dip in Sasol due to a $9.76 drop in the oil price. No disrespect to Sasol, but I think the rest of us are pretty pleased that the oil price is coming down. Currently, a barrel of Brent crude, should you wish to buy one, you will need to have $94.48 handy. Rand's trading at 16.32 against the dollar. That's better by 11 cents since this time last Friday. A euro will cost you 19 Rand, a 17-cent gain over the same time period, and $22.03 will get you a pound. Stephen Curtis joins us with all the market news at 4:25. We'll get sport with Anthony Teixeira. We heard him a moment ago, and Londiwe Nkupane has the traffic news. Listen up for that coming up shortly. Maki Mulapo joining us at 3:30 with the very latest news headlines. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live. If it's happening in 702 land, you will get to hear about it here first. But you know, there is so much going on in our communities to do with infrastructure. Perhaps you live in those parts of Roodepoort that Mongezi Koko was talking about a little bit earlier, where Zama illegal mining activity is literally ripping the guts out of that town. I mean, it's a quite extraordinary situation. So your take on all of these issues and any others we might have missed is always invaluable as we put the show together. Please contact us on 072 702 1702 or 011 883 0702. 702 Drive at 16 minutes past 3.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
Yeah, so the weekend, some of us are back at work. Some people are, the reality of this country, wishing and wondering if they'll ever actually find themselves work. And a lot of young people have been back in school today. And some of you as parents may have been taking your kids to school, or perhaps you are busy picking them up. It's interesting school days, really, because one of the things that I sometimes reflect on is, I wish they taught me that at school, because when you get out of there, there's a whole lot of stuff that you actually have to learn. I wish there'd been more specific education in terms of curriculum about how to look after money, how to save money, how to make money. And then I guess there's the life lessons, that perhaps you do have to go to the school of hard knocks to find out. But life lessons that you wish you'd been taught in school, whether formally or informally. What was missing from what we call our education? Give me a call on that on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. Jonathan Fairbairn, what should you have been taught at school that you weren't? Good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, John, and afternoon to our 702 family. I think if we could be taught conflict resolution in school, it would be a heck of a skill to leave school with, because I think so many of us, we don't know how to have conflict with each other. Sometimes when it comes or arises, you'll end up in a full-blown argument. Then it could resort to violence. You even look at some of the crime stats, and that's cited in the crime stats that sometimes murder and violence leads to disagreements that people are having, and there may be alcohol involved as well. But I think we don't know how to resolve conflict when it comes up between us. So I think that would be a nice one to have at school.
Yeah, it's a fascinating one. I mean, that would be brilliant. And I wonder if, by the way, are there any educators out there or anyone else who maybe some schools are actually doing that now. And if you are part of or involved with developing curriculum like that, implementing it, give us a call and let us know, because it's a terrific suggestion and it may well be some people are already at work on that. Londiwe, your school days were more recent than mine, just.
And mine.
Close.
Yeah.
What do you think would have been good to have learned at school, either formally or lesser?
Yeah. Good afternoon, John. So I think for me, it's more of a life lesson, really. And I think it's that looking successful and being financially stable are like two different things.
Yes.
I think that would sort of ease the pressure of people to, get into things that they shouldn't be as far as, financial matters are involved. So I think that would have been a great lesson to actually have in school, but I didn't get that. So I didn't get that.
Yeah, but that would be an absolutely fascinating course, because on the one hand, there is the how to look after money and what having money actually means. What's the difference between income and wealth, between wealth and prosperity and all those things. But the other is actually a little bit about engaging around values, like what is money for? Why do you want money? And what do you want people to think of you in terms of success? We've got two brilliant courses already. Again, maybe that's a conversation you're already having in classrooms, whether formally or not. Please do give us a call on that and your own suggestions. What should we be teaching in schools? What do you wish you had been given an opportunity to learn more about? Call me on that, 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. It's 3:20.
John Perlman
on 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, let's catch up with what's happening out in the traffic. Londiwe, what are we looking at?
All right, so in Bedfordview, there's been an accident on the N12 West before the Lulis interchange, slowing down traffic in that area. Also in the same area, there's queuing traffic on the N3 South between the Lulis interchange and Van Buren Road. In the Joburg CBD, there's roadworks on the M2 East after the Crown interchange, causing delays within the area as well. In Devlin, there's slow-moving traffic on the Golden Highway just between the N1 and the N12 exit due to roadworks as well. Looking at your traffic lights are out in Woodmead at Woodmead Drive and Woodlands. Pointsmen are also on duty in that area, in Fourways as well at Monte Casino and Winnie Mandela Drive. Pointsmen are also in that area on duty as well. In Tshwane, traffic lights are also out in the CBD at Lilengoi and Francis Bard, in Waterkloof at January, Masilela and Aramist. In Monument Park at the R21 and Solomon Mahlangu Drive. Remember to report any traffic incident on X at EWN Traffic.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings.
4 to 6.
A foreign national can own and run an establishment in South Africa as long as they have the necessary paperwork and permits.
You know, there's a notion that concerns the local South Africans must just be content with the status quo. What is not said by the leaders is that you cannot venture into any of the other African states around and beyond us without the necessary paperwork. Even in Zimbabwe, they'll look you up.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702. Your boss noticed. Your ex noticed. The neighbors definitely noticed. Because some cars say, I rented a car. And some cars say, I rented the car. Sani Sixt Rent a Car. Premium rentals. For people who don't settle. Choose the right car. Rent Sani Sixt on sani.co.za.
They say the early bird catches the worm. Great advice, unless you're the worm. Generic so-called wisdom doesn't work for everyone, so I settle for a financial plan that's one size fits some. Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to get to really know your unique situation. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
In the world of finance, manufacturing, and mining, automating business processes is a crucial factor in stimulating an organization's growth and bottom line. Zoe Projects and Consulting, a specialized process engineering and automation firm, offers comprehensive data and business systems analysis to optimize your company's processes, to save time, reduce costs, and better efficiency. Go to zoeprojects.co.za and get in touch with Zoe Projects and Consulting today.
It's time to get revved up. The Motor Select Rev Up sale is on, and we've got thousands of quality pre-owned vehicles at unbeatable prices. That's everything from city cars to 4x4s. Offer ends 30 June, so get to motorselect.co.za now.
Every week, millions of South Africans do the same thing. They pick numbers, they take a chance, and for a moment, they dream big. Now the National Lottery is entering a new chapter. On Tuesday, 26 May, Clement Manyatela will be in conversation with Sizakaya Holdings, the new operator of the National Lottery. Listen to find out what changes and what you can expect from this new era of the National Lottery. The Clement Manyatela Show, in conversation with Sizakaya Holdings. Tuesday on 702. Sizakaya is licensed and regulated. No persons under the age of 18 permitted to play. Play responsibly.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Right, let's briefly catch up then with what's happening behind closed doors, I have to say, as ministers in the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster gather. It's an emergency meeting, this around the protests that are taking place around the issue of illegal immigration in South Africa. And Nkosikona Malinga Mnisi is out in Pretoria waiting for somebody to come out and tell us what they've been talking about. And Nkosikona, a very good afternoon to you. I understand doors still closed, meetings still going on. But just for context, if you can give us briefly, please, a summary of what the meeting is all about and why it's seen by government as so important right now. Good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, John, as well as to our 702 listeners. I think before just really giving a background as to how we've arrived at this point, pardon me, I do need to say the developing story really this afternoon is the walking out of at least one March and March leader out of this meeting taking place here at the Union Buildings behind closed doors. We've had the opportunity to speak to him, and he's essentially said it was a failure of a meeting. He believes it was a waste of resources, also saying that the planning behind the meeting was not so great. And what he's then also spoken about is saying, he believes that it does not truly reflect what is currently happening on the ground. But I can tell you, John, we are at the union buildings outside one of the meeting rooms where this engagement is taking place between all of these stakeholders, and we are just waiting for the doors to be opened for the ministers and deputy ministers and all the officials at this meeting to then emerge and give us a sense of what is happening. It's been a long wait. We were initially told that we would be afforded a doorstop opportunity at around midday, but we're going late into the afternoon now, and it seems as if we may be waiting longer. But of course, John, this is all as a result of these widespread protests that we've seen across a number of provinces, particularly KwaZulu-Natal, the Eastern Cape, as well as the Gauteng. I mean, we speak about this meeting going on, but even today there were demonstrations in Katlehong, that is in Ekurhuleni, and government is essentially wanting to engage the groups that are behind these particular protests. Of course, there's also been murmurs about June 30th being the sort of deadline for undocumented foreign nationals to leave the country, or else there will essentially be a very concerning situation, as has been suggested. But already the police coming out over the weekend saying that they stand prepared to deal with any violence that may emerge. But what the government is trying to do here, particularly the security cluster, is essentially, I think they're attempting to get to a point where they sing from the same hymn book with these groups, because they've also been meeting with representatives of political parties to essentially, they say they want to develop some form of a framework, not only looking at the current situation, but also looking at issues of challenges around unity within the country among different racial groups. But of course, it stems really from what the current situation is like. They're also wanting to guide in some way the protests around these issues while then ventilating plans and solutions, as they often do, John, around dealing with the issue of illegal migration, which many argue has certainly become a crisis in the country, John.
Thanks very much. And Nkosi Khona Malinga Mnisi, keeping track of what's happening at that meeting, eagerly awaited to see who comes out. He did update that the person representing the organization March and March actually left the meeting and complained firstly about the agenda and felt that the meeting, the way the meeting was framed was ill-conceived. So plenty more to come, I suspect, from that gathering in Pretoria. And Nkosi Khona sticking close, and I'm sure we'll hear from him later. So earlier we played you a clip of Pirates winning the league, and we also played you a clip of Ronwen Williams talking about Sundowns' triumph in the CAF African Champions League. Sundowns winner of that for the second time. The question I wanted to ask you, if you're a supporter of one of those two teams, or maybe a supporter of neither, did you actually find yourself wanting both of them to succeed for different reasons? In other words, even if you're not a Pirates fan, were you looking forward to seeing just a change in the HO Sundowns dominance of the league, even if you might perhaps be a supporter of AmaZulu, for example? And then, was there a sense of South Africans, irrespective of club loyalty, getting behind Sundowns last night? I mean, both teams have achieved something quite extraordinary. Sundowns playing under very adversarial circumstances. I'm keen to know if there's a feeling of kind of national something in our football, or do we reserve that purely for when Bafana play? Give me a call on that. 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. 3:30. Let's get the latest eyewitness news. Maki Mulapo joining us with the details. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. An urgent meeting called by security cluster ministers to address rising protests over illegal immigration is currently underway at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. The closed-door meeting is being attended by ministers, deputy ministers and senior national security officials, including Acting National Police Commissioner Puleng Dimpane. The gathering comes as protests continue in parts of the country, with communities calling for tougher action against undocumented foreign nationals and their deportation. Nkosi Khona Malingamnisi is there.
The gathering comes as protests continue in parts of the country, with communities calling for tougher action against undocumented foreign nationals and their deportation. Government says the meeting is aimed at addressing illegal immigration and social cohesion challenges. Ministers are expected to finalize a framework for the National Action Plan to combat racism, xenophobia and related intolerance. Later today, the security cluster will also meet political parties, civic groups and organizations involved in recent anti-illegal immigration protests across the country. Government says the talks are intended to establish rules for protest actions and to discuss measures to deal with illegal immigration. Eyewitness News in Pretoria.
A Pretoria-based NGO says the Social Development Department has left staff without salaries, transport fare and even airtime, leaving children in need of care helpless. The organisation, which works in child protection, HIV/AIDS and mental health, says it fears victimization but wants to ring the alarm over a 2-month payment backlog. Jabli Limbata has more.
The NGO operates across Pretoria and surrounding areas through 3 sections: social work, HIV and AIDS, and workshop programs. But the social work program, with 25 staff, has not received funding since March, despite a signed service level agreement with the department. The manager says without money, social workers cannot reach hospitals to assess neglected children or arrange places of safety.
We lack a lot of resources when it comes to petrol to drive for the social worker to the hospital, and we need to make phone calls to find a place of safety where a child can be cared for and be protected. At that period, we will not be able to do that because we do not have money.
The Gauteng Department of Social Development says 30% of NGOs are awaiting payment due to compliance matters being sorted. Jabuli Limbata, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
In the courts, the case against an employee of the eThekwini Metro Municipality charged with fraud linked to flood relief efforts has been postponed. Baphezile Ngubane illegally obtained an RDP house claiming to have been affected by the 2022 massive floods. Department of Human Settlement spokesperson Ndabezinhle Sbiya.
We're talking about a highly sophisticated syndicate that is, fiddling with the system, misrepresenting facts. You have someone here who claimed, to be a flood victim. Yet when an investigation is conducted, we discover that, look, this person is working.
He says the department discovered that Ngubane got the RTP house through fraud.
She claimed to earn below, the threshold, but we found that look, she's getting a decent salary.
Her court case has been postponed to the 22nd of June. And Pope Leo XIV has called for the disarming of artificial intelligence in his long-awaited manifesto on the rapidly developing technology, presenting his first encyclical Magnificent Humanity in person at the Vatican alongside AI experts. Today, the Pope warned of new forms of slavery behind its rise. Leo, the first U.S. Pope, also warned against a race for ever more powerful algorithms and larger data sets driven by the desire to secure geopolitical or commercial dominance. Co-founder of U.S. giant Anthropic, Christopher Olah, was also in attendance and said AI companies operate inside a set of incentives and constraints that can sometimes conflict with doing the right thing. He welcomed input from outside actors like the Catholic Church to push events in a better direction, saying that the questions raised by AI are bigger than the AI research community. Anthropic is embroiled in a legal battle with the U.S. military after opposing the use of its technology for lethal autonomous warfare and mass surveillance. A look at your weather. A partly cloudy Monday afternoon across Gauteng. Today, temperatures are peaking at highs between 21 and 23 degrees.
And in Bedfordview, that accident on the N12 West before the Gululis interchange is still slowing down traffic within that area. In the same area, there's a queuing traffic on the N3 South between the Gululis interchange and Van Buren Road. In Devlin, there's slow-moving traffic on the Golden Highway between the N1 and the N12 exit due to roadworks within that area as well. If you're traveling in Sunny Hill, be on the lookout for roadworks on the N1 North at Rivonia Road causing some issues.
The top story in Eyewitness News, an urgent meeting called by security cluster ministers to address rising protests over illegal immigration is currently underway at the Union Buildings in Pretoria.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
My show is about getting you informed by the time you get to the office, your place of business, or wherever you need to go. Hopefully, you have a fairly good idea what's happening in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and around the world. We want you to be part of those water cooler conversations, and you will be part of those conversations because you'll be a better informed citizen. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is the ecosystem that we have built, the community. It's all about connection because we may be different, but ultimately the people you talk to and the people you hear are facing issues just like you.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
There's so much health information out there, but how do you know what to trust? Catch the Clement Manyatela show tomorrow from 9 a.m. for Health Matters by Cipla Africa, where we'll be unpacking important health conversations designed to help you better understand your body and well-being. Health Matters by Cipla Africa is a trusted hub, bringing you expert-led health conversations you can trust. Then head to the Prime Media Plus app or primemediaplus.com. Scroll to Prime Media Highlights and watch the latest Health Matters video featuring leading experts and thought-provoking conversations.
Slow fiber, unstable internet, and that never-ending call center runaround. Enough of that. Switch to Webtel Connect. Fast, reliable fiber and real support from people who know what they're doing. No menu mazes, just internet that actually works. Go check your coverage now. Visit webtelconnect.co.za or WhatsApp 087 238 3780. Webtel Connect. Internet you can trust.
That's Kefense, before she got naked. Kefense's premium went up twice last year, and she was more confused than when her ex said, "I need to find myself," and then found somebody else. So Kefense got naked. She got comprehensive car insurance and a way lower premium in seconds on the Naked app. Good for you, Kefense. Get a car and home insurance quote now at naked.insure and see how much you can save when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
In business, missed deliveries cost more than money. Go Girl Logistics is South Africa's 100% black female-owned Level 1 Triple BEE powerhouse, delivering secure, time-sensitive transport for parcels, cold chain cargo, and compliance waste. With DG trained drivers, cold chain certification, national reach, and real-time tracking, every load is handled professionally, safely, and on time. Go Girl Logistics. Power beyond cargo. Visit gogirl-logistics.com.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra's Winter Symphony Season, featuring masterpieces by Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, and more, is sure to exhilarate music lovers. Concerts take place on Thursday evenings from 4 to 25 June at the Linda Auditorium. Tickets available at Quicket.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good afternoon, John and the team. With regards to the issue of the security cluster meeting today, I just hope that they are not going to come back blaming, because these are issues that are well documented. People have been complaining about these issues or that are related to illegal immigration. So they shouldn't act shocked. They should come up with ways in which they can detect and be able to get rid out of this mess that we find ourselves in. Simon Boxbeck.
Steinand here. I think if they taught me at school how to work out a formula to create common sense, or to put common sense in a bottle, I would have been one of the richest men on this planet if I could sell common sense. Have a nice day. Bye.
Hi, John. Thank you for a great show, and I love the topic. I think that if we brought self-development in the schools at an early age, how to manage our emotions and our thoughts, it really will help a lot, because a lot of people, when they don't know how to solve that, they struggle a lot in life, and it just gets worse. It doesn't get better until you learn the tools and the techniques that you need to be able to regulate yourself. And I wish I had that many years ago, because I only discovered it later in my life. And it's something that we definitely need. Thank you. It's Danita from Lenasia.
Yeah, lots of great suggestions out there. If you've just tuned in, you may have missed the question we asked at the start of the show, so let me share it with you again. Well, what are the lessons you wish you'd had in school? It might have been by way of formal courses, for example, in how to save money or how to invest it, or it might have been ways of teaching and engaging with you that actually taught you to see and think about things in a different way that would serve you perhaps well in your later life. So you don't have to learn everything at the school of hard knocks. Now, this is interesting. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. From Ladybird. Conflict resolution is dealt with in life orientation. We performed this in LO, life orientation, in the matric class of 2009 at Westridge High School, which is Jonathan Fairbairn's alma mater. So 10 years after he matriculated, they took up his suggestion. Not literally, but introduce what he felt there should have been available when he was actually in school. 17 minutes to 4 o'clock. Please do keep those coming on 072 702 1702 Sports Time.
EWN Sport.
Anthony Teixeira, very good afternoon to you. Sundowns, that was a hell of a battle they fought and a battle they won, hey?
Yeah, good afternoon, John. Remarkable, especially that finish from Mokoena. Wow, sensational. But yeah, champions of Africa, Mamelodi Sundowns, making their way back to South Africa with the second star on their shirts. 10 years after winning the first CAF Champions League title, they did it again, a 2-1 aggregate victory over Moroccan side AS FAR. Here's penalty-saving, match-winning, trophy-lifting captain Ronwen Williams.
Very happy, over the moon, but we couldn't have done it without your support, Mzansi. We saw the love, the support, the well wishes, the prayers. We appreciate each and every message that you guys sent our way, and you guys carried us through. Thank you for turning out in numbers in Loftus, and thank you for the supporters who travelled all the way from South Africa. We really appreciate it.
In England, a muted London Stadium Sunday, where despite winning their final game 3-0 over Leeds, West Ham were relegated from the Premier League as Spurs beat Everton 1-0. In their most other recent seasons, the Hammers would have been safe had they ended on their 39 points, considerably higher than the average tally of 34.5 for teams finishing in 17th. Jared Bowen reflected on the heartbreak of ending a 14-year stay in the top flight.
No, it's not enough. It's not been enough. We was always relying on someone today, where over the last few weeks, couple of months, we could have put ourselves in a better position, a better situation. But we knew we had to come into the game today and win, and just hold on to that little bit of hope, that little bit of belief that we had. You never quite know in football, but it obviously wasn't enough.
It's a homecoming many Stormers fans would have been dreaming of. Chess and Colby will be back next season to where it all started after 9-year stints in France and Japan. The double World Cup winning Springbok is the latest crown jewel in the side's ambitious Project 2029, a long-term strategic plan implemented by the Director of Rugby, John Dobson, to build a squad capable of consistently challenging for both the United Rugby Championship and the Champions Cup. And George Russell has issued an apology directed to those trackside officials. On lap 30 of the Canadian Grand Prix, he experienced an abrupt and total loss of power and was forced to retire, which led him to tossing his headrest onto the track. The Mercedes man, after receiving a 5,000 suspended euro fine, took to social media saying his emotions got the better of him, and he apologized for making the marshals and the FIA's job harder. His teammate Kimi Antonelli went on to become the first driver in the sport's history to claim their first 4 race victories in a row, and now has a 43-point lead in the driver's standings. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
At 14 minutes to 4, EWN Traffic is brought to you by Sizakaya. The National Lottery's changing lanes, and moving over to Sizakaya, your new official national lottery operator from the 1st of June. Let's get the latest then from Londiwe.
Right, thanks, John. So in your traffic, there's a peak time delays on the M1 South between Oxford Road and Carr Street in Woodmead. There's a stationary vehicle there on the N1 South before Rivonia Road, slowing down traffic from the Buccleuch interchange. In Bedfordview, there's been an accident on the N12 West before the Gululis interchange, slowing down traffic within that area as well. In the same area, there's queuing traffic on the N3 South between the Gululis interchange and Van Buren Road. In Devlin, there's slow-moving traffic on the Golden Highway just between the N1 and the N12 exit due to roadworks as well in the area. And if you are traveling in Sunninghill, please be on the lookout for roadworks that are on the N1 North and Rivonia Road causing some issues within that area. Traffic lights are out in Kyalami at the R55 and Kenilworth, in Renpark Ridge at the N1 North and Piers Node. Pointsmen are also on duty within the area in Woodmead at Woodmead Drive and Woodlands. Pointsmen are also on duty within the area.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Mzansi, it's time to get your game up to scratch. Sizekaya is giving you more chances to win big with scratch cards. All you have to do is grab a coin and scratch the card to reveal if you've won. If you've hit it big, you can claim your prize instantly. The more you scratch, the more chances of winning. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. The National Lottery is officially operated by Sizekaya from June 1.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So we were asking you things that ought to be taught in school, either through process, i.e. in the way in which general schooling takes place, or things that need to be taught by way of specific curriculum. And a couple of you have got some really interesting suggestions. Paul says how to have an entrepreneurial mindset in life and how to start and run a business. And he adds or prefaces it by saying, without any doubt. So Anthony Teixeira, if you look back on your school days and look back on the life that followed that, what do you wish they'd taught you?
I mean, I wish we had been taught tax in its entirety, to be honest with you. As easy as e-filing is, and you can sort of navigate the website, it would have been nice to know a little bit more about the tax code from somebody who was informed. It's all well and said for you to go up and read on it, but sometimes you don't know the intricacies or you don't know how to exactly maneuver. So it would have been nice to just have a moment like that where somebody would sit down and sort of work you through it. The other one is changing a tire.
Yes.
That would have been great, to be honest. I discovered how to change a tire sort of on the side of the road after I hit a pothole.
Yes.
And it was the first time that I changed the tire. And I was like 25 at the time. And until that point, I had never learned. I learned on the fly, did it. What an experience. Actually, the more I'm thinking about it, maybe they shouldn't teach it. Although, probably would be helpful.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, what you could do is you could put together kind of a little kind of cluster course where changing tires, fixing stuff around the house, fixing cars, etc., etc. Okay, we're getting lots of suggestions. Listen to this list from Muhlomi, which is wonderfully mixed. Photography, playing musical instruments, cross-referencing, researching, public speaking. Those would have been great to learn at school. Please give me a call on that and let me know, what would you have wished to have learned in your school days, either by way of a formal course or just in the way that things were taught. This is from Vanessa. Please will someone at 702 look into the CAPS curriculums for various subjects before suggesting that so many useful things are not being taught in SA schools. It's often that learners just don't want to apply those lessons to real life. Vanessa suggesting that there's homework to do. Thank you. Good advice. It's 10 to 4.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
Okay, let's focus now on something else that's been going on. Very, very important conversations that we regularly have about social development and the need for NGOs to make a difference, trying to fill some of the gaps that both life and the economy and, you have to say, government sometimes leave. Now, the Gauteng Department of Social Development and the Gauteng government in general has had, I think it's fair to say, a fairly robust and sometimes acrimonious conversation with NGOs in this province about the way in which they're being funded, the way in which decisions are made about who should be funded. Our EWN colleague, Jabulile Mbata, has been out chatting to a number of NGOs doing important work, old age homes, working with victims of gender-based violence, to find out what the state of play actually is right now. And she's with us in the studio. Jabulile, very good afternoon to you. You set out to ask and get answers to some questions. What were you trying to better understand?
Good afternoon, John. So we just wanted a real picture of what these numbers really mean. So that's why we actually went out on the field today to speak to the organizations in person and really understand what is the effect when salaries are not paid. And, you know, as you mentioned, it's important work that these NGOs are doing. And they gave us really practical examples that, you know, sometimes when a child is neglected and left at a hospital, for instance, they are the ones who are brought in and, counsel the child. They are then in that position to place the child at a safety place. But without the budget, without, funds to be able to even travel, to be able to make those calls, they cannot do that work. And they also work with people who are HIV and HIV positive, and some of them are also mental health victims. So, they are unable to do anything because they simply do not have the budget to do that. They can't even get to work in some of these instances. So that's what we discovered today.
And in terms of the conversations that they're having with the Gauteng Department of Social Development, presumably when they find themselves unable to do their work, when they engage with the department, what kind of answers do they get?
So today the department said to us that the reason there's a delay is because there's some compliance matters that they need to sort out, which really speaks to vetting. But, they shouldn't have even been in this position to begin with, because before you sign a contract with someone, you must have vetted them. So the answer is a bit shaky, in my opinion. But honestly, the department has processes. It's not a new thing that the department is funding NGOs each year. I've been doing this story over and over again, and each year there's the same kinds of problems. There's a delay in payment, yet there is a budget. So this time the answer is that there's compliance issues.
Yeah, and as you say, how do you get on the list in the first place? I mean, I run an NGO, so I know how exacting that compliance can be. Once you've been through all of that, you would have thought, okay, we have a relationship, a contract, money ought to flow, and we'll deliver value for that money. If we don't, you come to us and take us off the list. Thank you, Jabulile Mbata. As she said, keeping track of a story that she's been keeping track of for a long, long time. If you run an NGO and you are having difficulties getting payment from either the Gauteng government or, for that matter, any arm of government, please do give us a call. Let's try and explore this issue from as many angles as we can. 6 minutes now to 4.
John Perlman
on 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
So I asked you a little bit earlier, even if you are not a fan of either Pirates or Sundowns, how did you feel about the two teams succeeding? Pirates breaking their own long drought without a title, but also finally ending Sundowns' dominance of the Premier League title, which had run for 8 years. And then, of course, Sundowns themselves having won a second African not Cup of Nations, Champions League title, CAF Champions League titles. So a great weekend for South African football. And my next guest, based on something he's written on the Daily Maverick site, believes that this is not only good for clubs, but this could be great for Bafana Bafana. Yanga Sibembe, under the headline, has written a story, and the headline is Sundowns and Pirates successes, a great boost for Bafana Bafana before World Cup. Yanga, welcome. It's great to have you with us on the show. Why do you think this is going to help Bafana Bafana beyond obviously the individual confidence or the confidence individual players will take to their task in Mexico? Good afternoon to you.
To your listeners, thank you for having me. As you've said, this past weekend was quite exciting for South African football, as a lot of new things happened, or things that haven't happened in a long time happened. With Pirates winning the league for the first time in over a decade, and then Sundowns, of course, winning the Champions League that they've pursued for more than a decade now to actually clinch it. I think basically the fact that most of the players that are going to be selected by Hugo Broos on Wednesday should come from Sundowns and Pirates. That's been the theme over the last year or so. And I think heading into such a big tournament, is not going to shake up things too much. So there's of course, a handful of players that probably almost indispensable for Bafana, including the captain of Mamelodi Sundowns, Ronan Williams.
Yes.
And of course the midfielder that scored the winning goal for the team to win the Champions League, in Ntebogo Mokoena. So those types of players, and then of course some exciting players from Paris, like Ozone Apollos and Relebohile Mofokeng, who also feature quite heavily in the plans, or whatever achievements that we have in North America for the World Cup next year. I think it's quite exciting from that perspective.
Yeah, and it's interesting because if we go back to the mid-1990s, of course, Pirates succeeding, winning their first. They're gaining their first African star, and then a year later we win the African Cup of Nations. How do you think Hugo Broos will draw on this? Because my understanding of him is he's pretty good at using strengths of individual players to bring out the strengths in other players.
In terms of Bafana themselves, they play as much as a team as you can find. There's not like anyone that stands out as an individual that you can say is a star.
Right.
Like if you look at France, you can say Kylian Mbappe is the star of that team. If you look at Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo will always be the star of that team as long as he's active, and so on and so forth. So, but with Bafana, it's very much a team effort. But the individual achievements of these players over the last couple of months, and of course now culminating in them winning the trophies for their clubs respectively, well then they'll carry that into the national team, and it will help really boost whatever chances that Bafana has in their quest to qualify for the knockout rounds in the World Cup for the first time ever.
Thanks so much. Yanga Sibembe has written a really interesting piece on the Daily Maverick site. Check it out, suggesting that Pirates winning the league and Mamelodi Sundowns triumphing out in Morocco last night, all to the good as Bafana prepare for a World Cup that is now just 17 days away. Can you believe it? 702 Drive.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
The Midday Report at its heart is a current affairs show, but it really is a show about everything you need to know about and everything you didn't know you needed to know about. Our listener is sharp, plugged in, curious, has developed opinions, but is still open to learning new things. My favorite part is how witty, sharp, and funny our listener is. What we cover every day is breaking news, current affairs, politics, the courts, global developments, science, education, popular culture, sports, books, and of course, good things too. I like to think of it as a lunchbox with a little bit of everything. What I love about 702 Land is that it is full of energy. There's always something happening, a developing story to follow. But it's not parochial. The 702 family cares about what is happening in the world around them and how we plug into that.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Weekdays from 12 to 1 p.m.
If your bank was becoming too expensive, you'd switch, right? So why pay more for car insurance? Switching to OUTsurance saves 32-year-old Parushka a whopping 729 Rand on her 2020 Haval H2. Get a quote now, and if OUTsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Do it now. SMS OUT to 45142. That's OUT to 45142. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
We're giving you millions of reasons to celebrate with our selection of Lucky Millions Lotto draws. You could claim major jackpots when you pick numbers from thousands of daily draws. Choose numbers on UK 49s, Euro Millions, and lots more from just R5 per line. Enjoy more chances and more ways to win, all in one place. Grab your chance to celebrate extraordinary riches when you play Lucky Millions from Hollywood Bets. Bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
Doing your famous through meetings, in traffic, at the store. Don't let seasonal hay fever get in the way of a better you. Unite against allergies with Demazin once a day, providing 24-hour non-sedating relief from symptoms like a runny nose, sneezing, and itchy red eyes. Demazin gets it done. Speak to your pharmacist today about Demazin once a day.
This is EWN.
Illegal mining threatens businesses in the Roodepoort CBD, and March on March walks out of urgent talks aimed at addressing illegal migration protests. Good afternoon, I'm Maki Malapo. Illegal mining and its subsequent consequences on road infrastructure and businesses is now tearing through the heart of the Roodepoort CBD, leaving business owners fearing their shops could collapse at any moment. Johannesburg Road Agency officials and Joburg Transport MMC Kenukunene have discovered several illegal mining tunnels beneath parts of the CBD during an oversight inspection on the West Rand today. One of the most shocking discoveries was beneath a local butchery where illegal miners had dug a hole directly under the store in an apparent attempt to steal meat. Mungezi Koko is there.
The tunnel runs directly beneath the floor of the shop, with business owners now worried that the ground could cave in without warning. Officials say the suspects appear to have fled after spotting security cameras before they could take anything. But across parts of the Roodepoort CBD, the damage has already been done. Transport MMC Kenny Kunene.
That must be given RETEX, these rats underground. That's how they destroy the road infrastructure. That's how they are destroying houses here. That's how they are destroying buildings.
Open holes, collapsing ground, and illegal excavations now pose a serious risk to businesses, motorists, and pedestrians moving through the area every day. Mungezi Koko, Eyewitness News, Roodepoort.
A leader of anti-illegal migration movement March on March has walked out of a high-level government meeting aimed at addressing escalating protests on migration. The closed-door meeting underway at the Union Buildings in Pretoria has brought together security cluster ministers, senior national security officials and groups linked to the recent wave of protest action. Government says the talks are meant to establish guidelines for protests and discuss interventions to deal with illegal immigration. Nkosikona Mnisi has more.
Little has emerged from inside the meeting as discussions continue behind closed doors. However, March on March leader Sanele Kambule has described the engagement as disorganized, saying it failed to meet expectations and poses logistical challenges. Kambule walked out of the meeting before its conclusion, also citing travel commitments.
In actual fact, I would say it was a waste of resources because we were sent an invitation late on Friday to gather here. We had to book flights and traveling arrangements at last minute, and we sat there and they read a presentation to us from a laptop connected via to the overhead projector. We were not given prior information on this presentation, and we're not even given an agenda to what will be tabled today.
March on March is among several groups invited to the talks as government moves to ease growing tensions while maintaining it is working to address illegal migration. Eyewitness News in Pretoria.
We move to the courts where a police captain arrested in connection with his testimony at the Madlanga Commission has been charged with allegedly sabotaging the investigation into the murder of Vereniging engineer Armand Swart. Lawrence Makgotlwe made his first appearance at the Pretoria Magistrates Court today. Khomotso Modise has more.
Lawrence Makgotlwe, who's attached to the Forensic Sciences Laboratory, is the first witness from the Madlanga Commission to be arrested over his testimony. According to the state, he was handed exhibits from Armand Swart's murder scene as an experienced experienced ballistics analyst, but he allegedly deliberately produced analysis that could have let Swart's alleged killers go free. The state claims he produced contradictory findings and ensured recovered firearms were not subjected to further examination. Makgotlwe faces charges of defeating the ends of justice and possession of ammunition. He made a brief court appearance today and will return to the Pretoria Magistrates Court next month for a bail application. Khomzo Modise, Eyewitness News.
Staying in the course, alleged political fixer Brown Mokhotsi will be spending at least another 3 days behind bars after his bail application was postponed to Thursday. Mokhotsi appeared at the Johannesburg Magistrates Court today, where he stands accused of faking an assassination attempt on himself. He faces a litany of charges, which include perjury, defeating the ends of justice, unlawful possession of firearm, ammunition, and the discharging of a firearm in a public space. During today's bail proceedings, the court heard how investigating officers went to the wrong house to try and verify his place of residence. Mokhotsi's lawyer, William Sakhaja, says the confusion was due to the fact that his client's home is located on tribal land and the officers went to a house a few minutes away from his.
This causes confusion and has caused confusion in the past, which is why I supplied a PIN location. My wife's number was also furnished by my attorney of record to the investigating officer on Tuesday, the 19th of May, 2026. I did so with the hope that the investigating officer will attend to phone my wife should he experience any difficulties with the said address.
State Prosecutor Tamim Mbekana says the investigating officers need a few days to travel to Mahikeng in the northwest to verify Mokhotsi's address.
The state is aware that the bail application is urgent. However, Your Worship, this is not what the state has created, because the state was not given the address on numerous occasions. So the fault cannot squarely lie on the state.
And in the Western Cape, as the continent celebrates Africa Day today, migrant rights organizations are picketing in Cape Town today in support of African migrants and African unity. This year's theme is 63 Years of Unity, Integration and Development. Let's celebrate together, and comes amid nationwide anti-illegal immigration protests in the country. In a recent demonstration in Cape Town over the weekend, protesters called for tougher action against undocumented foreign nationals and mass deportations. Ntutuza Lunene has more.
Organizers of the Africa Day picket say they stand against Afrophobia, discrimination and violence directed at migrants in South Africa. They say no African should be treated as a foreigner on the continent. Demonstrators outside the St. George's Cathedral say there is no place for racism and hate in the country. Meanwhile, organizers of protests against undocumented foreigners have rejected claims that their demonstrations are violent or xenophobic. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News in Cape Town.
Gold's trading at $4,569.63 an ounce. The rand at 16.30 to the dollar, at exactly 22 to the pound, at 18.98 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $98.06 a barrel.
And in the traffic heading towards Houghton, there's been an accident to the M1 South before Houghton Drive, slowing down traffic there from College Drive. If you continue on the M1 South towards the Johannesburg CBD, expect heavier traffic volumes due to peak time pressure.
And in your sport, Betway Premiership champions Orlando Pirates secure May Awards 2. A roundup of Day 2's morning results from Roland Garros, and the IPL playoffs decided.
A look at your weather. Clear skies in store for Gauteng tomorrow, becoming partly cloudy. Joburg will drop to overnight lows of 7 degrees and peak at highs of 21. Pretoria is at 8 and 23. Vereeniging is at 5 and 21 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour: illegal mining and its subsequent consequences on road infrastructure and businesses is now tearing through the heart of the Roodepoort CBD, leaving business owners fearing their shops could collapse at any moment.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
We're calling on Joburg to walk the inner city with us. In 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Babize bonke. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 10 minutes past 4. Great to have you with us. Hope you're having a good Monday, a decent start to the week. if you had something special happen to you over the weekend, apart from watching your team win the Betway Premiership or watching your team win a second Africa Champions star. Well, let us know what that special something was. And I did ask a question, by the way, even if you may not be a supporter of either Pirates or Sundowns, or perhaps you support only the one, did you nevertheless feel that it was a great weekend for South African football? And I say that very much with Bafana Bafana's opening match against Mexico, not very far away. June the 11th, 17 days, I think. Or as kids would say, 17 sleeps. I'd have to count and be absolutely sure. Either way, it's very, very soon indeed. Is this all very, very good? Do you have a sense of warm tailwinds behind South African football as we approach this all-important tournament? Call me with that on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. Still to come, we're going to take another look at something we spoke about last week. The public protector came out with a really damning report about the Gauteng government's failure to fix up Charlotte Maxeke Johannesburg Academic Hospital after a terrible fire had ripped through that building back in 2021. We're going to talk to Professor Adam Mohammed, clinical head of internal medicine at Charlotte Maxeke, who in an earlier interview over the weekend with the Sunday Times has spoken out very, very strongly indeed about what he believes to be the absolutely eviscerating nature of corruption in that hospital, in public health more broadly. And his view is very strongly that that's why it really is hard to fix anything under those circumstances. He's with us shortly to share those views. Another institution, perhaps with this equally deep problem, is the DNA labs that are meant to help with the investigation of crime, first of all, and then secondly, the prosecution of people who the police believe are guilty of those crimes. After 5, we'll talk to Dr. Vanessa Lynch, Regional Director of DNA for Africa. Alarming statistics presented in Parliament about the immense backlogs in the DNA system and the problems that causes for law enforcement. That's coming up in about an hour's time. Before that, is there anything suggesting we are closer to a US-Iran deal? Professor James Kerr-Lindsay, international relations expert, joins us once again to take us through all of that. We asked you about things you wish you were actually taught in school, either formally or, things you would learn just in the course of being in a school. Please keep sending us your voice notes with your thoughts on that. 072 702 1702.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Good afternoon, John. What I wish I was taught in high school was investments and investing, how the economy works, the local economy, the global economy, how to make money work for you and not simply just work hard for money, because it is the former that makes you sustainably wealthy and able to withstand economic shocks as opposed to the latter. So money and how it works is something I believe was deliberately not taught to us to keep us beholden and dependent on the system.
Good afternoon, 702. Yeah, one of the things that I feel like we should have done in school was getting our learner's license, because it's like if you look at driving is essentially a career on its own. Like we've got a lot of people out there on the roads, taxi drivers, we've got truck drivers, we've got a lot of people out on the road, like the courier drivers, so if we had all done our learner's license back in school in grade 10 or 11, somewhere there, there would have been a huge boost for a lot of South Africans. So I do think that the South African government needs to make a plan there where they can link up with schools and help a lot of young learners get their learner's license.
Greetings, Intertejon. In my opinion, what I think it's something they should have taught me at school. In life orientation, they have what they call the world of work. They tell you about all these careers that are there, but they don't prepare you for the interviews. Now, if they had prepared me for the interviews, drafting a CV. Like they need to update that information every now and then so that it aligns with the developments that are out there in the field, in the work field. So I think that is what they must focus on, because a number of people are really fumbling when it comes to interviews. I think that's my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, interesting that you mentioned interviews. Thank you for that, because Helen sends us her list: what to learn at school, dress code, manners for business, and again, how to interview. And Karen, how do you get a credit rating, a credit card, a loan to buy a car or a house? I'm keen to know, by the way. I mean, quite a lot of people focusing on managing money, making money, and so on. Yeah, a lot of people suggesting that. And I'm wondering how receptive would young people be to that. I'm not sure I would have got my head around it all that easily, but hey, I matriculated in the mid-1970s, so it's a different world now, and young people have way more access to way more by way of social media, the internet, and so on. But please do keep those coming. 011 883 0702 072 702 1702. 17 minutes past 4. Let's find out what's happening on the roads.
EWN Traffic.
Right, let's get the very latest news now with Londiwe. What's happening?
Thanks, John. So if you're heading towards Houghton, there's been an accident on the M1 South before Houghton Drive. That's slowing down traffic from College Drive. If you continue on the M1 South towards the Johannesburg CBD, expect heavier traffic volumes due to peak time pressure. There's also bumper-to-bumper traffic on the N3 South between Marlborough Drive and Van Buren Road. Sandton is also experiencing heavy delays on several roads, including Catherine Street, including Rivonia Road and West Street due to peak time delays as well. Traffic lights are out in Rand Park Ridge at the N1 North and Beersnode. Pointsmen are also on duty in the area at Woodmead and Woodmead Drive and Woodlands. Appointments are also on duty within that area. Looking at Tshwane now, traffic lights are still out in the CBD at Lilian Goyi and Francis Bard in that area. In Waterkloof at January Masilela and Aramis. Appointments are also on duty within the area. Remember to report any traffic incidents on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. 702 afternoons.
With Relebohile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
If we look back where women were not working like what they are now, because the assumption would be, well, if you're working, you have maternity leave. That's not always the case. What were some of the benefits of babies being home with their moms?
The benefits were quite a lot then, because being at home and being with mom, it was very rare to find babies that get sick all the time, because there is no influences from the outside and infections coming inside the home. So illnesses were there, but not as much as we see now with babies going to daycare and all that. And we also got babies that were emotionally stable.
Paula Banda, professional nurse and child health advocate.
702 afternoons.
With Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
That's Liesel, before she got naked. Liesel checked her insurance premium and got angrier than the time a teenager called her Tani. So Liesel got naked and got comprehensive car insurance and a way lower premium in seconds, all on the Naked app. There we go, Liesel. Get a car and home insurance quote now at naked.insure and see how much you can save when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
It's game day, and the family's facing off against the Snotties and Flemmies. Dad's down! Blocked sinus and mucus is gaining ground!
New game plan. Let's bring in the ACC team.
With ACC, Mom's got the winning play. Entering the field, ACC helps break down mucus and clear the airways. Choose the winning team when you're facing Snotties and Flemmies. If it doesn't say ACC, it's not ACC.
More chances to play, more chances to win. That's the future of the Lotto Mzansi. Introducing Multiplay from Sizekaya. For the first time ever, you're not limited to just 6 numbers. With Multiplay 1, you can pick 7 numbers, and if you only get 6, you still win. That means more combinations, more excitement, and more chances to win big. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. The National Lottery is officially operated by Sizekaya from June 1.
Mzansi, Take-A-Lot's senior cards, and boy have you been shopping. To say thank you for all your support, we're bringing you the Thanks A Lot sale. Get up to 60% off must-have beauty, sports gear, latest tech, TV and appliances, everyday essentials, toys and more. To know you is to spoil you. Shop the Take-A-Lot Thanks A Lot sale from 25 May to 7 June.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy, a pulse, and a feeling connecting everybody. The heart of Mzansi.
It's Joburg.
In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi, and we're calling on you to walk through the city center with us.
Walk the talk.
In the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babise bonke. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going to the iconic Joburg CBD, the home of dream creators and operators, where we dominate and history make. So join us and be a part of something special.
I'm ready to rock this book.
Because when Joburg walks together, extraordinary things happen. Enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk this July, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for the people, for our Jozi. Babise bonke. Enter Walk the Talk now on primemediaplus.com.
Calling all aspiring radio stars, this June, 7:02 afternoons with Relebogile Mabucha is bringing back Youth Takeover Thursdays. If you or someone you know dreams of being on air as a talk show host, newsreader, traffic reporter or sports presenter, we want to hear from you. A select few will shadow the team, go live on 702 and walk away with a professional demo. Email 702afternoons@702.co.za. Send us your details, the role, a short motivation, and a 1-minute demo. Applications close on 29 May.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
Right, let's focus our attention now on the state of the Charlotte Maxeke Hospital, a facility that was severely damaged when a fire, I think it's fair to say, was set in a storeroom. Several blocks of the hospital were severely damaged. That was back in 2021. Now, in 2022, my next guest wrote to the public protector about the slow pace of actually fixing what needed to be fixed. The public protector, Koleka Taleka, came out with her report last week, but Professor Adam Mohammed, who has been clinical head of internal medicine at Charlotte Maxeke for a good number of years now, feels that the true extent of the problem has still not been laid bare. He's been talking about this in the media, and we welcome him now to 702 Drive. Prof, welcome, and thanks very much for giving us your time. You have been saying that even the stuff that people are saying has been fixed either hasn't been fixed or hasn't been fixed properly. Good afternoon to you. Well, what still needs to be done in your view?
Good afternoon, John, and all the listeners. The reality is the wards that we don't have from the time of the fire as of right now, the bulk of beds, usable beds, functional beds, we do not have access to right now. This was given to a contractor. It should have been handed over to us by the end of March, has not been handed over. The tools are downed. No action is occurring in those buildings because there is a dispute occurring between what needs to be done and increasing the scope of the work that's being done. And the work that has been done on these blocks with beds that are vulnerable and desperate in need has not been up to standard, even from a fire point of view. We still have not received full fire certification for the hospital, and we got into the hospital on the basis of this would be done concurrently. We could not afford the hospital to be shut down because the Gauteng health structure does not have a facility to absorb what Sunja does. So the report goes until 2024.
Yes.
But 24, 25, 26 up to date, nothing has changed. We still are having the same issues of lack of transparency, lack of true telling us where we are. And I don't believe that we are having a brutal, honest conversation about what has been done, what has been paid, what is outstanding. And I can't understand how we had money that we did not use. That's very strange for me.
You've spoken very candidly in saying there's still corruption going on. Is the corruption, in your view, that money is simply being siphoned off and used for other purposes, possibly personal ones? Or does the corruption lie, in your view, Prof, in hiring companies not competent to do the work, which is abuse of public money in another way?
I think the reality is those nuances of the micro details I can't say because I don't have that elements, but I can tell you from one simple thing, maintaining of generators of the hospital, and we still have ongoing issues with that. We have a tug of war between Department of Health staff and DID staff. Who's responsible? Who appoints which tender? Who does this? You have people that knows the nuts and bolts. An example, in your house, you know which circuit breaker works for your plugs.
Yes.
All of a sudden, you get someone from outside coming out. All of a sudden, plugs are burning. This is happening. And this is an ongoing problem. You have people who have the know-how, who are there, but they're not allowed to touch or do anything because the contract and tender has been given to someone else. That someone else calls someone else to come and help them. And it's not just about one item. It's layering of poor administration. Even if we say there's no corruption, the mere fact that there is maladministration and not getting a major hospital up and down, it's the same effect as stealing. We have stolen the quality and we've stolen care from people.
You also comment, Prof, about just the basic things that you and your colleagues, whether they're in your department or not, actually need to do your work, the consumables. And that presumably would be medicine, would be bandages, would be protective gear and so on. The supply of that, you're saying, is also either inadequate or not there at all. I mean, how is that explained? Because that's not technical. That's just somebody either doing their job or not.
Yeah, that's the reality. There's so much bureaucracy. Example, when you are asking for a central line that is used for highly critical patients, and when doctors have to go around or nurses have to go around to different wards and say, can you borrow me an item? That's an indictment of a failure of a system. We're talking not about a plaster. We're talking about a simple drip line set that's used to save someone's life.
Yes.
The procurement system, the appointment system is being tied down by red tape. And I don't believe this red tape is just from a governance point of view. It's done to delay payments, to delay money getting to the people that need it. I actually think we are actually bankrupt and we're playing musical chairs on a ship. And that's my personal opinion. There's no fact to it. But this is what I see. We have not had appointments done in a proactive way. Every single hospital, Baragwanath Hospital, Helen Joseph Hospital, Laratong Hospital, everyone has posts that are vacant and are not being filled. Or if they're not being filled, the red tape and administration is delaying them. So we have 1,000 doctors unemployed. We have tons of people waiting for jobs. And I'm not talking about just general practitioners. There are specialists that don't have jobs in this country. We have specialists that are waiting for jobs. And the red tape and bureaucracy, we've gone from a hospital-based appointmenting to a central-based, decentralized. The mood of a deputy director general determines whether we get a piece of paper back to say we can advertise, whether we can shortlist or not. And then it goes back and then you wait another few months. And if you're lucky, you get it done. If not, you restart the process the next year. There are critical heads of units posts that are not being filled. Anesthesia, psychiatry, and it's not unique to my hospital. The Southern Gauteng is under dire stretches. If you take a walk into casualty, you wouldn't even leave your animal there. That's how bad and overcrowded these environments are.
Thank you so much. So much more to talk about. Professor Adam Mohammed, Clinical Head of Internal Medicine at Charlotte Matleke. He, in other conversations, has said that's it. He cannot do it anymore and he's leaving the public health sector. And you can't help wondering, where was all this red tape and this tight control of spending at Tembisa Hospital? Seemed to be that the roll of red tape was either put to one side there, never to be brought out again, or simply burnt the way other things got burnt there too. It's 7:02 Drive, it's business time.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, good afternoon.
Afternoon to you, John. Good day on market. So Brent crude dropping significantly to $95 a barrel, and that's really made a very big difference. That's after Iran's top negotiator and their foreign minister went to Doha to talk to the Prime Minister of Qatar about a possible deal with the US. I must just say, the US officials kind of talking down a deal. Iran's sort of talking it down, but lots of movement around this. US markets closed today, but that move by oil is really driving our markets. It's made the rand stronger. It's made the JSE stronger, and it's had a very big impact throughout the day. Pick and Pay, the main story of the day, I must just say. They're down 3.34%. They were down a lot further earlier today. They reported that their supermarket segment made another loss of R1 billion. It's pushed back its break-even target by a year to 2029. Turnover down too, John, and of course really battling to get that going. They've had all sorts of issues with that turnaround. Sasol down 3.85, obviously, along with Tungela down 1% on a weaker oil price. Boxer down 1% as well, and British American Tobacco being a big defensive stock, down 0.5%. Harmony are so gold and platinum prices up significantly, and that's really pushed our markets today. Harmony up 7.38%, Valterra up nearly 7%, Anglo Gold, Sibanye, Implats, Northam, all of them up very, very strongly today. Netcare up 6%, also a strong performance from them. They reported that their headline earnings per share were up 21% in the 6 months to the end of March. Paid patient days up by 0.7%. Mental health paid patient days up very strongly as well. And then Eltron also saying that their headline earnings were up by 34%, and Omnia saying that their headline earnings per share are expected to be up by around 20%. So that's all had a very big impact on those shares today. As I say, the US markets are closed, but markets generally around the world have been quite positive. That's because of oil prices being so low. The gold price at the moment, $4,569.11 an ounce. Platinum, $1,967.56. Brent crude, $95.27. The rand to the dollar, 16.30. To the euro, 18.97. To the British pound, 21.99. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
The latest news headlines now with Maki Mulapo. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. The chairperson of Parliament's Social Development Committee, Bridget Masango, says it's still concerning that too many grant beneficiaries are not receiving their payouts because of the verification process to root out fraud. Masango says while the committee supports National Treasury's measures to ensure all beneficiaries are legitimate, these measures can't be at the expense of legitimate recipients not receiving their payments. At a briefing at Parliament today, Masango said SASSA is not able to keep pace with the number of people who need to be assisted in person. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
The biometric crackdown on the social grant system has already saved the state R1 billion. In addition to that, SASSA has been rooting out undeserving recipients through its reviews, with more than half of the 420,000 reviews completed. But Social Development Chairperson Bridget Masango says it's coming at a cost to struggling beneficiaries.
These are very welcome gains. We remain concerned about the reported cases of non-payment of lawful grant beneficiaries.
Masango says her oversight visits have revealed a multitude of problems that are slowing down the verification process, including the lack of capacity to service clients face-to-face.
The systems are offline, there's downtime, they cannot connect to the other systems they are dependent on.
Chairperson of Parliament's Committee on Science and Technology, Lucizo Makubela, says it's important for SASSA to move to a fully digital application process. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
A Pretoria-based NGO says communities facing urgent crises, including suicidal attempts and mental health cases, are the hardest hit as staff remain unavailable due to unpaid salaries. The organization, which works in child protection, HIV/AIDS and mental health, has not been paid by the Gauteng Department of Social Development since March. A manager at the facility says community-based work requires urgency, but hospital social workers don't do home visits, leaving a gap the NGO usually fills.
Hospital social workers, they don't go out for home visits. They don't know what is happening. So we ensure that we support those families with medication. We assist them in ensuring that they understand, or we teach them with different types of mental illnesses.
He adds it's surprising the department still refers cases to them knowing they haven't been paid and lack resources to do the work.
If there's any need of somebody, maybe doesn't have the accommodation or doesn't have any family to take care of him or her, so we ensure that we run the placement process as well, via courts, via police stations.
The Gauteng Department of Social Development says it does not have a set date for settling payments as it depends on compliance issues being resolved. And South Africa's citrus industry has further expanded its market access into China following a new phytosanitary agreement. Western Cape Agricultural MEC Ivan Meyer says the new export agreement is set to ease strict health and safety for shipping citrus. Meyer says it will boost job creation as the province supplies 20% of all citrus production.
This new agreement between South Africa and China will make it easier for our citrus producers to export, opening up valuable opportunities across the agricultural value chain from farms to logistics and export businesses.
Meyer adds that agreement comes at a critical time for the agricultural sector, saying South Africa has a counter-seasonal advantage.
This is more than just trade. It is about growing the economy and sustaining jobs, especially in our rural communities in the Western Cape.
A look at your weather. Clear skies in store for Gauteng. Tomorrow becoming a partly cloudy Tuesday. Temperatures will drop to overnight lows between 5 and 8 degrees and peak at highs between 21 and 23 degrees.
And in the traffic in Edenvale, there's been an accident on the R24 West just before an Edenvale Road, slowing down traffic there. In Woodmead, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 South before Rivonia Road, slowing down traffic from the Buccleuch interchange. In Ridgeway, there's a collision on the N1 South before the Uncle Charlie's interchange, causing heavy delays.
The top story in Eyewitness News, the chairperson of Parliament's Social Development Committee, Bridget Masango, says it's still concerning that too many grant beneficiaries are not receiving their payouts because of the verification process to root out fraud.
The Aubrey Masango Show on 702.
I cover on my show issues of advisory, whether it is legal matters, whether it is financial matters. I cover day-to-day issues as far as current affairs are concerned. I cover the politics of the day and how we as South Africans are interpreting them. My listener is a curious 702 lander. They want to know what are the backstories, the stories behind what we are hearing on the airwaves. They want to understand what drives the different issues that have us talking. What I love about the 702 family and 702 Land is the fact that we have 702 landers who are responsive, who are present, who care about their communities and who want to know how they can be a part of the process of making our areas better, but also our country better. And that for me is a great privilege. I am totally indebted to the providence out there to be talking to these people on a daily basis.
The Aubrey Masango Show, weekdays from 8 to midnight.
Your boss noticed. Your ex noticed. The neighbors definitely noticed. Because some cars say, I rented a car. And some cars say, I rented the car. Sani Sixt Rent a Car. Premium rentals. For people who don't settle. Choose the right car. Rent Sani Sixt on sani.co.za.
Hi, this is Michael Owen, Hollywood Bets brand ambassador. Being a champion, I know the best performances come from making the right decisions on and off the pitch. Enjoy the game, enjoy the excitement, but play responsibly. Gambling responsibly is about staying in control so you can enjoy it your way. If you or someone you know needs support, help is always available. Call the South African Responsible Gambling toll-free counselling line on 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Totally advantage nge-FNB Speed Point. Kanjani? You can boost your cash flow with FNB Cash Advance and get pre-approved funds within 24 hours.
So whether you're buying stock, paying suppliers, or growing your business, it's easy. Get your cash. Walala, wasala.
Get in the payments game with a bank that helps you unlock cash flow with FNB Speed Point. FNB, help changes everything. First National Bank, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider. T's and C's apply.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. Kanye here. I did a program called the International Baccalaureate, and we had a subject called Theory of Knowledge, which essentially not only teaches you about philosophers like Immanuel Kant and Plato, but it teaches you about where our thinking comes from. And it forces you to evaluate why you think the way that you think. So one of my projects was on abortion, and I had to do for and against, and one of my friends did hers on euthanasia. So where we live in a world where our parents and our communities kind of cultivate our thinking, this subject helps you to determine why you think the way that you think, and think for and against on different subjects. So I think every school should actually incorporate it.
Hi, Ntade John. Ntade John, for me this weekend, congratulations to Sundowns. They've done so very, very well. Even though I don't support them, I support Kaizer Chiefs. But they've done very well away from home. You know, scoring that spectacular goal by Mukwena reminds me of his former teammates, Klompo Wikana. Job well done, Masandawana. I really appreciate what you've done. Coming to the other team, the Pirates, now I don't salute them. You know, I don't really salute them. That's not the way to win the Champions League. You know, I mean to win the league. You know, you can see that was just only brown envelopes going underneath the table. You know. Because, I mean, even the owner of the team did mention it, that 60, if not 80% of his players comes from Orlando Pirates. So it's not easy. How can you beat your father, you know? It's not easy, Ntadejo. You can't beat your father, you know? You need to follow the instructions that your father tells you to do. Thank you, Ntadejo.
Yeah, listen, I don't enjoy particularly unsubstantiated allegations saying that there's been cheating. I think people have to come up with something a lot stronger than that. I really do. There's no doubt that Pirates dominated that game. I mean, questions are always asked sometimes when goals are scored easily, but to make those assumptions, if the rules allow players to move between clubs and they do, then yeah, you know, let's keep it level here, guys. 702 Drive, it's 17 minutes to 5. Speaking of the weekend, I asked some of you what happened on the weekend that you particularly enjoyed. Jody went to the rugby derby between Parktown Boys and St. Stithians. First team, what an awesome game, says Jody. It went right to the end. Parktown won 30-27. Those matches between schools can be absolutely thrilling. Sounds like that one absolutely fit the bill. 17 minutes to 5.
EWN Sport.
Anthony Teixeira, very good afternoon to you. Speaking of Pirates, some news for the coach.
Yeah, good afternoon, John. That's right. Freshly off leading Orlando Pirates to the Betway Premiership title, a first league success in 14 years. Coach Abdulsalam Wadu has been named the Coach of the Month for May. He guided the side to an unbeaten end of the season with 3 wins and a draw. It could have been a very different season than the treble-winning one. Wadu confessed that 2 matches into his tenure, he tendered his resignation after a difficult start.
When I lost these 2 games, I didn't have other choice just to propose my resignation to my management. I am honest and I am an honest man. I'm not chasing contrast. I'm not chasing money. I'm doing this job for love. But I have the chance to be supported by fantastic people. They didn't want to hear about that. They said no.
Meanwhile, Buccaneers goalkeeper Sipho Chain has won his first Player of the Month award as he recorded 4 clean sheets in May and broke the all-time record for clean sheets in a single campaign after concluding with 21. AFP are reporting that Mamelodi Sundowns are in line to secure up to $20 million, around 360 million rand, for their CAF Champions League success. In Morocco, they ended a 10-year wait for a second title with a 2-1 aggregate win over AS FAR, 1-1 on the night. In tennis, day 2 of Roland Garros' men's section has been far more predictable than the first. The only real surprise was 12th seed Jelena Hečka getting dumped out. So far, Domino Berrettini and Rinderknecht have all advanced. Ben Shelton will be starting his slam against the unseeded Daniel Marida Aguela, with the American admitting it's been a tough year.
It's been super up and down for me. Honestly, I've been kind of disappointed in my season, and then I look and I'm 6th in the race. There's a lot to improve upon, get better at. I'm still not the player that I want to be. Winning titles and going deep at slams is my biggest goals for sure.
In cricket, the IPL playoffs have been decided. Top 2 Royal Challengers Bangalore and the Gujarat Titans will meet in tomorrow's Qualifier 1. Then Wednesday, the Eliminator will see the Sunrisers Hyderabad against the Rajasthan Royals. And only one world record was beaten at the enhanced games in Las Vegas this past weekend. Swimmer Christian Gokomriv clocked a 700th quicker than his current world record in the 50-meter freestyle. He clocked in at a time of 20.81 seconds. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Okay, let's find out what's happening out on the roads. Londiwe Nkupane is keeping an eye on things for us. Here she is.
Thanks, John. So in Edenville, there's been an accident on the R24 West just before the Edenville Road, slowing down traffic there. In Woodmead, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 South before Rivonia Road, slowing down traffic from the Buccleuch interchange. In Ridgeway, there's a collision on the N1 South before the Uncle Charlie's interchange, causing heavy delays within that area. Traffic lights are out in Kyalami still at the R55 and Kenilworth. Pointsmen are also on duty within that area. In Woodmead and Woodmead Drive and Woodlands, pointsmen are also out, on duty within that area. Looking at Tshwane now in Irene, traffic is congested at the intersection of Nell Mapiers Drive and Main Road. There's slow moving traffic there on the N1 North between the Flying Saucer interchange and Wriggle Avenue. Traffic lights are out in the CBD at Lilian Goyi and Francis Bard. Pointsmen are also out in that area on duty in Monument Park at the R21 and Solomon Mahlangu Drive. Pointsmen are also out in that area. Remember to report any traffic incident on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
13 minutes now to 5 o'clock. Are you ever the person who people think of as kind of an uncle or an aunt? Let me tell you what I mean by that. Do you find yourself being asked to do things as if you some kind of capable elder who has access to the world and can fix things up for other people? So you may have relatives or family members or friends or even friends of friends who think, well, I just need to get in touch with Anthony Teixeira, and then, he'll get me on 702 to talk about my new restaurant. Or somebody might come to you and say, will you check my CV and, before I send it? And then you do it so well that you get another 10 in your inbox over the next 12 days and so on. Are you surprised to find yourself actually in the role of uncle, even if you are not related, and more alarmingly, not even competent? And the same applies, of course, if you're a woman, to being regarded as some sort of aunt. Anthony, are you finding that as you advance in age that an increasing number of people are coming to you and saying, Ant, do you mind if I drop this off at your house? If you take you 5 minutes, have a quick look for me.
I'm going to be honest, John, it doesn't happen very often.
Yes.
I think people just don't trust much maturity level, to be honest. They also, I think it's difficult for people to take me seriously when everything to me is a joke. But it has happened recently, and probably for the first time in my life. A friend of mine said to me, listen, I need you to look after my daughter. She's 2. And I had to look after a child. And I'm not going to lie, it was quite an experience for me.
Yes.
I don't have many children in the family that I see regularly enough that I could say, oh, I have experience or I have an understanding. So when he was like here and I had to look after little Nuru, I'm not going to lie, I was sort of overwhelmed for like the first day. It was an entire weekend. And the first day I was genuinely overwhelmed. But then by the time Monday rolled around, I didn't want him to take her, to be honest. I was like, no, we can keep it another day. She was just such a pleasant thing. And to go in and have to deal with, making food and making sure that she's eating. And I didn't think I was going to enjoy that. And it was a lot of fun.
There we go. Anthony, your role is now cast. It's on the record. You had a great time. You were good at it. You're going to be asked again. Probably with a kid saying, where's Uncle Anthony? There we go. You are in the role. I am not sure, Londiwe, whether you have been cast in the aunt role yet, but maybe you have. A couple of younger nieces, perhaps?
Yeah, that's actually the case with me. I think when you are an older daughter, you sort of take that responsibility very easily and very fast. So that's pretty much the case with me. I am an auntie, I'm a sister, and my brothers think I'm like superwoman or something, which is weird, but yeah, they do.
Well, I don't know whether to say well done or commiserations. I guess it's a mix. Let us know if you've been cast in that role, sometimes reluctantly, and what kind of things do people ask you to do? Call us with that. 011 883 0702, 9 minutes to 5.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
Well, let's focus our attention now on that conflict that is many, many thousands of kilometers away from us, but right in our backyard in terms of consequences. Iran and the United States, another round of talking publicly about the state of the talks they are having or the negotiations they are having behind closed doors. It's very unclear. When I woke up this morning, the Americans were saying a deal could be reached by the end of today. This, the subject of another bucket of cold water from the Iranian side. I'm looking at a quote from the spokesperson for Iran's negotiating team, Ismail Baghai. And he says, it is correct to say we have reached a conclusion on a large portion of the issues under discussion. But to say that this means the signing of an agreement is imminent, no one can make such a claim. So what do you make of that? I do not know, but let's talk to somebody who I think has a pretty good idea. Professor James Kerr-Lindsay has joined us regularly on this saga, and he's with us again today. Prof, welcome, and thanks very much for joining us. Large and bowls of extremely thick alphabet soup. Are you able to see the bottom of the bowl at all? I mean, if you've reached conclusion on a large portion of the issues, yes, signing may not be imminent, but it would sound like progress is being made. Am I too optimistic?
It's been a saga, let's put it that way.
Yes.
We can see that much. I mean, we've talked about this so many times, and I think it's definitely looking more positive than the last time we spoke. That much is clear. The Americans, as you rightly said, I woke up to the news this morning, like you did, that the United States was saying they were on the verge of a deal, but like you have just seen the news that the Iranians are pouring cold water on this. I think what's really interesting in all of this is that it seems from what we can tell that they are not talking about a final deal. Essentially, what they're talking about is a fairly comprehensive agreement that will allow talks to continue with a 2-month ceasefire. So if anyone's sort of expecting that this is going to be a document that's going to end this conflict altogether, it isn't. But what's very clear is that this, if it does go through, will allow a lot more traffic to go through the Straits of Hormuz, which is, I think, what everyone in the wider world is looking for now, because of we're starting to see the crunch on vital supplies, not just energy supplies, but for example, things like fertilizers. So all of this is incredibly important. But I think what is interesting in all of this is that if it does go through and opens the door for negotiations, it means that the Iranians are in a much stronger position, of course, because what they can say to the Americans now is, you have seen what we can do. what are you going to offer us? So we are in a truly remarkable situation.
I mean, it does, it reminds me a little bit of, somebody has a chronic illness and then there's a botched operation. And they say, well, the patient's doing much better because the consequences of the operation going badly have been dealt with. But the chronic condition hasn't been addressed at all. I mean, do you think if they have been talking about a deal, is this kind of triage rather than any kind of cure?
Absolutely. And I mean, what's really interesting in all of this is that with these discussions that are taking place, that we're now seeing a lot of the US hardliners waking up to the reality that the United States has effectively lost this war, that Trump is desperate to get out of it and get some sort of deal. And that the agreement that's going to come out of it is actually going to be very weak indeed. And many people are asking, what did the United States fight this war for? I mean, this is a question that a lot of us have been asking since day one, but essentially It's now become very, very clear. This has been an extremely expensive conflict that hasn't achieved its main objectives. And I think what really stands out is that, Trump had talked sort of up the possibility, talked up the fact that Iran must give up all its nuclear capabilities. And Iran is just simply saying, no, this is going to be the subject of negotiations if they reach a deal. And that the hardliners in the United States are saying, why was this war even fought in the first place? If you're going in this way, you're capitulating and allowing Iran to keep some sort of nuclear capability, obviously not to develop nuclear weapons, but the Iranians would say, well, that was never our intention. I think we can treat on both sides a lot of these statements with a degree of sort of skepticism. But essentially, the hawks in the United States had expected the United States to come out of this with a clear commitment from Iran that it would do absolutely no nuclear experimentation or development, even for peaceful means. And that simply isn't going to be the case.
Yeah. So, I mean, the key issues, Tehran's highly enriched uranium stockpile on the one hand, and issues that they have with the United States on the other. All of that, then, if I understand you right, kind of gets put back on the back burner. And the real conversation is about duration of ceasefire, opening the Straits of Hormuz, can Iran freely sell oil, etc., etc. When we get to the end of those 60 days, if they successfully negotiate it, what do we go into next, Prof? A kind of uneasy truce in which everyone eyes each other warily, but nothing much has changed? Or might there be at least 2 or 3 things that actually both sides can turn around and say, well, we're actually closer to where we wanted to be before the fighting began?
I mean, I think, again, what we can say for certainty is that this war has been disastrous for the United States. I mean, Iran was severely weakened. It had been facing lots and lots of protests against the regime. It had managed successfully to put these down, but at a very, very high cost. And there was a sense that the regime was gradually weakening, that every new wave of opposition was starting to lead to the potential collapse of it. It will be in a much stronger position, especially if it manages to negotiate the end of sanctions or a significant lifting of sanctions. It's also after a lot of its frozen assets. If it gets that, it's able to start re-strengthening the economy, which will allow it to sort of develop support in certain quarters of the population. So the idea that the Iranian regime is going to fall, it's going to look in a much stronger position. And also, you've got the other thing that, of course, the United States had touted itself as this sort of superpower militarily, and it wasn't able to defeat Iran.
Yes.
That Iran held out. And this will have done enormous damage to US standing in the world, not least of all because also it's burnt a lot of bridges with its allies over this war. So essentially what we're seeing is a tremendously weakened United States, a potentially significantly weakened, strengthened Iran, and all for what? Iran, essentially, I think many people are now talking the eventual agreement that's likely to come out is very much like the JCPOA, which was signed a decade ago under Obama, which Trump absolutely hated because Obama did the deal. And he's not going to get something significantly different from the looks of it. So, this really has been an enormous strategic miscalculation from start to finish.
Thank you so much, Professor James Kerr-Lindsay. We'll keep an eye out for any developments in regard to the US-Iran talks. 702 Drive.
Weekend Breakfast with Googs Mshungu.
702 Weekend Breakfast is about switching gears after what's usually a very busy week. We keep you informed, we keep you on trend, what's happening, what's new, what's delicious, what's fascinating, and keep you company as you rest at the end of the week. What I love most about the 702 family and 702 land is we're this interesting motley crew of people, this diverse group of people from all over the country, all over the world, and we all come together, and it makes for this interesting, fascinating family. And I don't think you can find a more diverse, interested, or more engaged listenership than people who are part of the 702 family and 702 land. And so they listen to us to be their guide to the weekend because they trust Weekend Breakfast.
702 Weekend Breakfast with Googs Mshungu from 6 to 10 a.m.
Mzansi Ballet proudly presents Heal the World, an inspiring new ballet set to the iconic music of global legend Michael Jackson. Choreographed by South African prima ballerina and award-winning choreographer Angela Revi in collaboration with renowned Mexican guest dancer and choreographer George Wade, this powerful production celebrates dance as a force for connection, healing and transformation. It tells a deeply human and emotionally charged story of resilience and self-discovery. Heal the World runs from 13 May to 7 June at the Peter Turin Theatre at Monte Casino. Get your tickets now through web tickets.
Johannesburg Water advises residents of planned maintenance by bulk supplier Rand Water from 29th May to 2nd June and again on the 17th July as part of its annual winter maintenance program. During these periods, Johannesburg water systems may experience low water pressure or no supply. Residents are urged to store water in advance and avoid last-minute storage, which can strain the system. Affected areas include Sandton, Midrand, Randburg, Rudaport, Soweto, Lenasia, Orange Farm and surrounding suburbs. Updates will be shared via Johannesburg Water and City of Johannesburg platforms. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water.
We could tell you we're the best bank in Africa, but if you're a CEO or CFO looking to scale, you'll want the numbers. Like that 350 of Africa's corporates bank with us, that 80% of its billion-dollar corporates trust us with their business, and that our systems process 300 million rand a minute. That's 430 billion rand every day. Grow with the bank that does big numbers. Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
This is EWN.
Speaker confirms names for Parapara impeachment committee, and Sandpark says no arrests have been made in tourist deaths at the Kruger National Park. Good afternoon, I'm Maki Malapo. We begin with News Just In. National Assembly Speaker Thoko Didiza has confirmed the submissions of all political parties that will be represented on Parliament's impeachment committee to consider allegations of impropriety against President Cyril Ramaphosa. The ANC has submitted 9 names, which include the chairperson of Parliament's Committee on the Presidency, Doris Mpapani, and several members from the ad hoc committee, which has investigated police corruption, including its chairperson, Soviet Lechanyane, and Xola Nqola, who is also the chairperson of the Justice Committee. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
Other members of the ANC who will form part of the 31-member committee include Portfolio Committee chairpersons Faith Mutambi, Boyce Maneli, Luciso Makubela and Mika Mahlauli. Programming Whip Cameron Dugmore and Dikeledi Dereko round out the ANC's list. The DA confirmed its members soon after the call for nominations was made 2 weeks ago and includes its parliamentary leader George Mikalakis and his chief whip Glynis Breitenbach. The MK party will also be led by its parliamentary leader John Shlope and its chief whip Mabato Mokoena Zondi. EFF leader Julius Malema and senior parliamentarian Ompile Maotwe will be the 2 representatives for the Red Berets. Other parties will only have 1 representative each, while the PAC and Good Party have opted out of the 16-party committee because their sole representatives also hold cabinet positions. It's yet unclear when the committee will meet to elect a chairperson, as President Cyril Ramaphosa takes legal steps to challenge the report upon which the impeachment inquiry is based. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
A West Rand community is living in fear of the ground beneath them collapsing. 3 massive sinkholes have opened up in different parts of the Witboortjie estate on Johannesburg's West Rand, with illegal mining believed to be at the center of it all. Johannesburg Roads Agency officials alongside Joburg Transport MMC Kenukunene have been conducting oversight inspections across the area. Mungezi Koko has more.
Already battling constant power cuts, broken traffic lights and persistent crime, residents living in and around Witboortjie estate say they are now forced to live with the daily fear of the earth giving way beneath their feet. Illegal and unlicensed mining has for years plagued communities across the West Rand, but residents say the emergence of these massive sinkholes signals a dangerous new reality. Some of the gorges are estimated to be more than 10 meters deep and about 5 meters wide, with one of them situated dangerously close to a children's play area. For parents living here, the fear of a child falling into one of the open craters grows by the day.
They're not safe because you can literally see the hole. It's there by the swings. And any child can go and play and then they mistakenly fall. We don't even know how deep that is, but it is a proper sinkhole.
Joburg Transport MMC Kenukunene has promised urgent intervention and greater attention to the community's concerns, but for many residents here, those assurances have become all too familiar. Mungezi Koko, Eyewitness News.
Controversial political fixer Brown Mokgotsi has denied trying to bribe the investigating officer in his fake assassination attempt case. The investigating officer, Alfred Oudendal, submitted an affidavit to court today saying Mokgotsi once asked him what he can do for him so he doesn't oppose his release on bail. The allegations were made during Mokgotsi's bail application today at the Johannesburg Magistrates Court. He's charged with perjury, defeating the ends of justice, unlawful possession of a firearm, ammunition, and the discharging of a firearm in a public space. Thabiso Goba has more.
The state has opposed Brown Mokgotsi's release on bail. It says he provided the police with the wrong home address, didn't fully disclose all his previous convictions, and also tried to bribe the investigating officer assigned to his case. State prosecutor Time Mpekana.
The applicant approached the investigating officer with a suggestion. Is there something that I can do for you not to oppose bail? This indicates that the applicant showed to undermine the functionality of the law.
Mokgotsi's lawyer William Sekhasha insists his client has been cooperating truthfully with the police.
I deny that I attempted to bribe the investigating officer in this matter. Perhaps my communication with him must have been misunderstood.
The matter has been postponed to Thursday for the verification of Mokgotsi's home address. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
And Sandpark says no arrests have been made for the murder of 2 tourists at the Kruger National Park. The pair, who did not return to camp, were found dead over the weekend in the Pafuri section of the park following a search and rescue operation on Thursday. The bodies were discovered near a river a day later by a group of tourists who alerted park rangers. Authorities also confirmed that the victim's vehicle is missing, saying investigations into the incident are ongoing. Sandpark's head of communications, JP Lowe.
We observed somebody who, in our view, quite maliciously posted a 10-year-old photo on social media suggesting that somebody has been arrested. I think they say that person from Mozambique. So the public must please know that nobody has been arrested. The police are leading with the investigation. All possibilities have been looked at.
Lowe says visitors are still welcome to visit the vast park, adding that they're also working on other interventions to make it safer.
Our interventions is still around 2 areas in particular, though each one of them has its own other detail. The one is to look at additional monitoring as well as ranger resources that's being deployed in the specific area of concern. And then the second is then technology. We want to enhance our technology systems to help us in particular with 2 things. One is with surveillance, and the other, of course, is in relation to warning capabilities.
Gold's trading at $4,568.66 an ounce. The rand's at 16.30 to the dollar, at exactly 22 to the pound, at 18.97 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $98.17 a barrel.
And in the traffic, in Emmarentia, there's slow-moving traffic on Barry Herzog Avenue between Colorado and Judith Road. In Kayasan, traffic is heavily backed up on Malbonga Drive between South Africa Drive and Northumberland Avenue.
And in your sport, Olympic champion gets an early exit from Roland Garros. Napoli confirmed the departure of Antonio Conte. Injury scare for Lionel Messi ahead of the FIFA World Cup. And Spain announced their squad for the American showpiece. However, there's no Real Madrid players in it.
Look at your weather. Clear skies in store for Gauteng tomorrow, becoming a partly cloudy Tuesday. Joburg will drop to overnight lows of 7 degrees and peak at highs of 21. Pretoria is at 8 and 23. Vereeniging's at 5, also reaching highs of 21 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. National Assembly Speaker Thokodi Diza has confirmed the submissions of all political parties that will be represented on Parliament's impeachment committee to consider allegations of impropriety against President Cyril Ramaphosa.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy that connects us all.
That's what makes this one so special.
In 702, Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 10 minutes past 5. In Nkosi Corner is out in Pretoria, listening to the briefing being given by various ministers who are part of the Justice and Security cluster, and they've been behind closed doors meeting to talk about issues around the marches against illegal immigration that have been taking place in various parts of the country. Very important story he will be feeding into the news bulletins over this hour and beyond. At the moment, I can see Defence Minister Angie Motshekga speaking. Justice Minister Amaluko Kobai has finished her part of the briefing, and I'm sure there are questions as well. Important stuff there. We'll keep you updated on that. But our main interview in this half hour is going to look at a different aspect of policing in South Africa. Now, our focus very much on the Madlanga Commission has been on criminality, corruption, political interference, and so on. But as all of that goes on, and boy, have we been presented a picture in which so many senior police officers have been completely diverted from their core task. Given that picture, the figures coming out about the forensic science laboratory that is meant to provide the arm, the DNA and forensic arm for A, investigating crime, and B, presenting cases that are winnable in court. The numbers coming out of that particular entity of our government are absolutely alarming. We're going to go through the numbers shortly, but just to tell you that that's going to be very much our focus, and to talk about it, we're going to be joined by an expert on the subject, Dr. Vanessa Lynch. She's joining us shortly. And then in the last half of the show, this being Africa Day, we've asked you to pick a favorite artist and their best song from elsewhere on the African continent. We've got some great suggestions, and we're going to play as many of those as we can. That's coming up, plus all the business news, a traffic update, all three, and we'll let you know what's happening in the world of sport as well. Thanks for joining us.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hello, Ntati John and team. I think for me, I realized that grown up, when my siblings started asking me for money, I know it's not related to your question in any way, because you said an uncle and aunt, but for me, it's the fact that he doesn't ask once or twice. It's every other month where he says, listen, I need money, I'm short. And when your parents start telling you about things like renovations and how contributions are needed, or when your parents start asking you for advice, other family members come to you and say, listen, we have a problem, what must we do? We're planning for a funeral, we're planning for a wedding, we're planning for this, we need your input. Then you know, oh, I'm a grown up now. So yeah, thanks for a great show. Clarity from Centurion.
Yeah, thanks for that. And the question we asked, by the way, is it happening in your life that you're now sort of becoming some kind of elder? I called it an aunt or an uncle, but it doesn't have to be that, where people imagine you can help them in ways that you're not always sure that you can. Krishna sends us this. I'm an actuary whenever a young person is considering actuarial science in the family, and in most times, very far family, their parents and even grandparents get them to call me for advice. Thank you, Krishna. Keep those coming, please. It's 13 minutes past 5.
EWN Traffic.
To the roads we go. This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Plumlink, your local plumbing store. Visit plumlink.co.za to find your nearest store. Let's hear from Londiwe Ngubane about the very latest on the roads.
Thanks, John. So in the traffic in Emmarentia, there's slow-moving traffic on Barry Herzog Avenue between Colorado and Judith Road. In Kayasan, traffic is heavily backed up on Malibonga Drive, just between South Africa Drive and Northumberland Avenue. Traveling on the M1 South towards the Johannesburg CBD, expect heavier traffic volumes there due to peak time pressure between Oxford Road and the Crown Interchange. There's also bumper-to-bumper traffic on the N3 South between Marlborough Drive and Van Buren Road due to roadworks and peak time delays in that area. In Sandton, Sandton is also experiencing heavy delays on several roads, including Catherine Street, Rivonia Road, and West Street as well, due to peak time delays in that area as well. Looking at your traffic lights are still out in Kyalami at the R55 and Kenilworth. Pointsmen are also on duty within the area. Also in Fourways at Monte Casino and Winnie Mandela Drive there. Pointsmen are also on duty in Tshwane. In Irene, traffic is still congested at the intersection of Nell Mapias Drive and Main Road. There's also slow-moving traffic on the N1 North just between the Flying Saucer Interchange and Wriggle Avenue. Traffic lights are also out in Monument Park at the R21 and Solomon Mahlangu Drive. Pointsmen are as well on duty in that area. Remember to report any traffic incident on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
If it's plumbing, you'll find it at Plumlink, South Africa's largest plumbing retailer. From pipes, fittings, geysers and baths, to basins, taps, tools and accessories, we've got it all. With more than 10,000 quality products at the right price and over 150 stores nationwide, there's always a Plumlink near you, ready to help with expert advice and unbeatable value. Find your nearest branch today at plumlink.coza.
Plumlink, your local plumbing store.
702 afternoons.
With Relebogile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
If we look back where women were not working like what they are now, because the assumption would be, well, if you're working, you have maternity leave. That's not always the case. What were some of the benefits of babies being home with their moms?
The benefits were quite a lot then, because being at home and being with mom, it was very rare to find babies that get sick all the time, because there is no influences from the outside and infections coming inside the home. So illnesses were there, but not as much as we see now with babies going to daycare and all that. And we also got babies that were emotionally stable.
Paula Banda, professional nurse and child health advocate.
702 afternoons.
With Relebogile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
Catch the Springboks live at Ellis Park this year. Lions fans, it's time to roar. Get ready for a season of pure adrenaline in the heart of Jozi. Secure your all-inclusive Lions membership starting from just 950 Rand. That's right, less than $1,000 unlocks your seat to every Lions home match at Emirates Airline Park. That includes the one you've been waiting for, the massive clash between the Lions and the All Blacks this August. Don't get left at the gate for the biggest game of the year. Memberships are available right now at Ticket Pro. Own the season, back the pride, and get behind your team, the Lions.
That's Sia, before he got naked. Sia had a bumper bash and had to reattach his fender using duct tape and a prayer. So Sia got naked. He got comprehensive car insurance in seconds and can now submit claims instantly on the Naked app. No more arts and crafts for you, Sia. Cover your car and home now at naked.insure and see how easy insurance can be when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
Mavis, I wonder if I should sell my car. I'm not sure where to go.
Wanna sell your car, but don't know what to do. You don't have to go far, we come to you. If you're rolling on a 1.5 or a Lekker 2.2, doesn't matter what you drive, we buy cars once you.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
The rebirth of Ubuntu Concert returns for its 5th edition live at Joburg Theatre, 29 and 30 May at 7:30 p.m, celebrating 50 years of youth legacy. Featuring Lira, Zoe Mudiga, Vusinova, Tutu Puani, and Jimmy Dludlu, backed by a 20-piece orchestra conducted by Grammy Award winner Joe Arthur. Curated and produced by the visionary Billy Munama. Tickets available at Web Tickets. Proudly supported by Brand South Africa, City of Johannesburg, Arts Alive, 702 and ENCA.
Not every change feels like a choice. Some arrive as disruption. Shift Happens with Richard Sutton is a podcast about those moments where life moves first and you have to catch up. When certainty disappears, direction blurs, and everything familiar starts to shift. You'll hear stories from people who faced change, doubt, and pressure and found a way forward. Their stories give us confidence. Living vicariously through their experience gives us hope, and we learn from their journeys. Because what feels like an ending is often the beginning of something else. Shift Happens weekly on PrimeMediaPlus.com, the Prime Media Plus app, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Powered by First Light, therapeutics for the modern mind.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So in the Madlanga Commission, we very much focused on, political interference, criminality, corruption. Not much focus, though, on how any of those things actually might have affected the basic job of running a criminal justice system. Well, that has come into sharp focus in a very different way. Answers in Parliament talking about the way in which forensic laboratory services are dealing with those critical DNA investigations that can make the difference, A, between a prosecution and B, a successful one. The numbers are not particularly encouraging. So what's been going on? Because over a number of years now, when the backlog was huge, we kept getting assurances that that backlog was being reduced and things were improving. Let's get an overview then and get some insight into what might need fixing and what might be going well and perhaps needs to be done more of. Dr. Vanessa Lynch is Regional Director of DNA for Africa. Dr. Lynch, welcome and thanks very much for giving us your time. There are deadlines when DNA samples are brought forward according to the law, and it sounds like the labs concerned and the system is not meeting those deadlines and not meeting them in a huge number of cases. What's going on and what are the implications? Good afternoon to you.
Hi, John. Thank you. Please call me Vanessa. Yes, so the DNA board has recently it's the new DNA board. Every 5 years, they choose a new DNA board and they presented their recommendations. It was actually the outgoing board's recommendations last Friday. And a few things came up. The first is that, exactly as you said, there's a 30-day turnaround within which the DNA samples need to be processed in the laboratory. And according to the report, only 3.5% of that of the DNA samples received were processed within that timeline. So that's over 95% are not reaching the legal deadline, which is why there's probably close to 180,000 that we know of samples in backlog. We also heard that a lot of the Schedule 8 arrestees are not being sampled. They mentioned a figure close to 30,000 arrestees, which is quite startling.
And Schedule 8, just to jump in, is rape, murder, armed robbery. This is serious.
Among others, yeah. Right. Most of our serious offences fall under Schedule 8, to be perfectly honest. It looks like the causes are mainly related to the facilities and management. So some of the things, for instance, in the Western Cape facility, they had no maintenance contracts to service the instruments on essential DNA equipment. There were outages in the Pretoria laboratory, which is the department it's a completely different department that are supposed to provide electricity and water, and that interrupts the service, the analysis service. The KZN lab is still being relocated. So it looks like there's a facilities and management failure going on here, as opposed to any scientific failure. I think the good news is the database is still growing, they still reported that We've got over 1.3 million active profiles on the database, so that's good considering, we started with, I think, 35,000 when the Act was first promulgated. And the detectives are following up the leads that they're given with regards to the DNA database, so that's good. And our convicted offenders, which are the offenders in prison, it looks like most of them are being sampled before release. So, and it also looks like the distribution of the kits, the rape kits and the sampling kits, those are being given to all of the police stations. So, we're seeing some good news, but obviously this backlog and the systems failure within the laboratory, it just shows you how much more can be done if they were operating efficiently and effectively.
But the numbers are absolutely startling. I mean, less than 5%. Of the samples are actually being dealt with according to what the law requires. What is the problem? I mean, you've made the point that the facilities in one place, a lack of a maintenance contract, uncertainty about where the facility is going to be located in KZN is another. But are there other things that need addressing? Shortage of people? There does appear to be a real lack of urgency to actually A, take this seriously, and B, deal with it as serious.
Yes. Look, I think there has to be a serious turnaround strategy put into place. And I know that I have been talking to, because obviously I still have interactions with regards to some of the management at SAPS, and they are looking at possibly putting together a statutory board to look at it and try and put a turnaround strategy in place. I think things that we need to look at are we need stricter SOPs to prevent offenders being released before sampling.
Right.
They need to look at, are all the maintenance contracts in place? Are all the consumables available? Do we need to look at alternative service providers? Do we need to look at additional facilities? We clearly have a capacity issue. 3 laboratories, one of which, 2 of which don't look to be operating effectively, is simply not enough for the number of samples being released. There has to be mediation between Public Works and SAPS. I mean, not having electricity and water,
yes,
it's not SAPS's issue, that's Public Works. So I think these recommendations were made by the board, and I certainly hope that we do see some kind of statutory board in place that really does look at all. I mean, the DNA board can only recommend. They don't actually have a mandate to enforce. And I think there has to be something a little bit more enforceable to say this has to be done and forces the situation as opposed to just recommendations. Recommendations seem to be vague suggestions in South Africa, whereas I think there has to be something a little bit stronger.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Vanessa Lynch, Regional Director of DNA for Africa. If you're a police officer, if you're involved in prosecutions, maybe you have been a victim of a crime and were hoping that the person would be caught, properly investigated and finally prosecuted, have you fallen foul of what appears to be a substantial failure in the systems we have for processing DNA for the purposes of dealing with crime? Give us a call on that. 072-702-1702.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Londiware with the latest.
In your traffic in Devlin, there's slow-moving traffic on the Golden Highway between the N1 and the N12 exit due to roadworks within that area. In Midrand, traffic is backed up on the N1 North between Ellendale Road and New Road. Please use the Pretoria Main Road if you want to avoid that backlog.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance Pointsmen can't help you escape that awkward elevator ride with your boss, but they can help you get to the office on time. Seeing them on your route just makes you feel better. The Outsurance Pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so everyone gets where they need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702. Show them some love online using #PointsmenLove. Licensed insurer and FSP.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
The Midday Report at its heart is a current affairs show, but it really is a show about everything you need to know about and everything you didn't know you needed to know about. Our listener is sharp, plugged in, curious, has developed opinions, but is still open to learning new things. My favorite part is how witty, sharp, and funny our listener is. What we cover every day is breaking news, current affairs, politics, the courts, global developments, science, education, popular culture, sports, books, and of course, good things too. I like to think of it as a lunchbox with a little bit of everything. What I love about 702 Land is that it is full of energy. There's always something happening, a developing story to follow. But it's not parochial. The 702 family cares about what is happening in the world around them and how we plug into that.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Weekdays from 12 to 1 p.m.
When it comes to growing investments, Truffle bends over backwards to make sure your assets move forward. For nearly 2 decades, Truffle Asset Management has delivered consistent outperformance for South African investors. With a proven long-term approach, your money keeps growing even when markets get tough. While others chase quick wins, Truffle stays the course. Invest in the value of experience. Invest in a Truffle fund. Visit truffle.co.za.
Your boss noticed. Your ex noticed. The neighbors definitely noticed. Because some cars say, I rented a car. And some cars say, I rented the car. Sani Sixt Rent a Car. Premium rentals. For people who don't settle. Choose the right car. Rent Sani Sixt on sani.co.za.
Calling all wedding planners and venues, restaurants, conference centers, and hotels. Do you need tables and chairs? Home in One has it all. Do you need cutlery, crockery, table linen, and restaurant equipment? Home in One has it all. Do you need tents, gazebos, or umbrellas? Home in One has it all. Affordable prices, the latest trends, with 2 branches in Pretoria and Johannesburg. Shop online at homein1.co.za. Because we're your number one choice. Home in One has it all.
At Dis-Chem, we're bringing you better health this winter. Swipe your Better Rewards card and save 102 Rand on A. Vogel Akina Force 100ml drops, now only 262 Rand 79. And save 147 Rand on Insumax Q 30-day supply, now just 378 Rand 71. Look out for the yellow label to shop Better Rewards brands in-store and online and get 10% off instantly on top of the promo price. Offers valid until 14 June at Dis-Chem. Better health starts here.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, John. Well, lower oil prices pushing the JSE up. The JSE up 2.45% at the end of the day at 115,994 points. Financials up 1.4%. Industrials up 1.7%. Resources up nearly 4.7% on the day. Big story for us, though. Pick and Pay down nearly 5% on the day. They were down actually around 7% when trading started after an update in which showed that they've made another loss of R1 billion. Pushed their break-even target out by a year to 2029. Turnover was down as well, and so that's obviously had a big impact on their share price. Sasol down because of lower oil prices. They're down 4%. Tungela down 0.28% as well, and Bidcore down 1.2%. The miners doing very nicely today. Valterra up 7.6%, Harmony up 7%, and pretty much all of the gold and platinum miners having a very strong day. Netcare up 7% today. We'll speak to their CEO on the Money Show tonight. They said their headline earnings per share were up 21% in the 6 months to the end of March. John, again, we're seeing a lot more people coming in for mental health care, and that having a big impact on their results in a way. U.S. markets closed today for Memorial Day, but all international markets, pretty much all higher, driven by lower oil prices. The gold price, $4,566.71. Platinum, $1,967.85. And Brent crude, $95.57. The rand to the dollar, 16.30. To the euro, 18.98. To the British pound, 22 exactly. On the Money Show tonight, the CEO at Pick and Pay, Sean Summers, on what's going wrong. And as much going right, one or two things are. We'll speak to the Netcare CEO. We'll speak to Eltron as well. We'll look at the cost of not investing in public transport. And John, everything you wanted to know about running YouTube. Lorraine Landon, the head of YouTube in Southern Africa, on your radio tonight. Stephen Grotus, EWN Business. Thanks, Stephen. Money show between 6 and 8. Eyewitness News is brought to you by Momentum. Financial advisors help you have a better shot at generational wealth. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. Here's Maki Molapo.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Justice Minister Mamuluku Kubai says while she acknowledges the concerns raised by South Africans on the immigration crisis, protests must be held in accordance with the law. Security cluster ministers are briefing the media following an urgent hours-long meeting on the escalating protests over illegal immigration, some of which have turned violent. The meetings at the Union Buildings in Pretoria was also attended by groups leading the protests, with some representatives walking out claiming the engagement was just another talk shop. Ministers responsible for police, defence and justice responded to the March and March movement's demand for illegal foreign nationals to leave South Africa by June 30th. Government has urged the movement to protest within the law and says security forces are ready to respond to any eventuality. The Gauteng Care Crisis Committee says the Provincial Department of Social Development owes NGOs more than 100 million rand in unpaid funds. This includes around 30% of organizations that signed service level agreements but have not been paid from the budget meant to roll out in April. Committee Chairperson Lisa Vetten says this is a repeat problem every year.
Obviously, they only get their budget from Treasury on the 1st of April. However, they get their actual budget vote. In fact, everybody sees it in March already. So if they've had business plans since October and they've been going through them, and obviously before you get a budget from Treasury, you have to submit the budget as soon as they approve. They know what kind of money they had and what they want to allocate.
DA Gauteng Shadow MEC for Social Development Refilo Ntsege says delays leave NPOs in limbo and beneficiaries suffering.
The department can lie and say everything is under control. It cannot be under control when NPOs don't know where they stand, beneficiaries are suffering, facilities are not operational. They have to take the risk of hiring employees without the guarantee of a contract in the form of an SLA. Unacceptable.
In the courts, the co-accused in the trial of alleged underworld gang boss Nafiz Modak today admitted he lied to police about aspects of his case. Modak's alleged middleman Ziad Pool is testifying in his own defense today. Pool is among the 14 alleged accomplices on trial with Modak for various crimes related to operating a criminal empire. Carlo Peterson has more.
Ziad Pool faces more than 20 charges related to allegedly orchestrating murders and other crimes on behalf of Nafiz Modak. The state believes Pool received payments from Modak to plan two murders, as well as the attacks on slain anti-gang detective Charles Kinnear, attorney William Booth and underworld figure Andre Nordier. Nordier was killed in a drive-by shooting in Parow a year ago, but Pool denies the charges. He claims he was merely employed as a bodyguard in Modak's security team. He admits he lied about being Modak's driver on the day he was arrested in April 2021 because he was traumatized. Pool says he initially lodged a case against the Hawks related to Modak's arrest.
I spoke to the lawyer that said, I told him, no, something's wrong. I wasn't the driver, who was supposed to be, and that's what I done.
Pool told the court he also lied to the Hawks to avoid being arrested because he was in shock, although he later handed himself in. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News, Western Cape High Court.
And the National Consumer Commission has issued yet another recall, this time of the Jeep Grand Cherokee WL. The Commission says Stellantis South Africa issued a safety recall affecting 920 models distributed in the country between 2021 and 2023. The supplier cited the possible damage of upper control arm pinch bolt during the vehicle's assembly. Stellantis says this may cause the pinch bolt to break, resulting in a loss of clamp load between the upper control arm ball joint and the knuckle. The Commission's Petron Daba.
This may cause the wheel to tilt outward and increase the risk of a crash without any warning to the driver or the owner of the vehicle. We urge owners of the affected vehicles to immediately contact their authorized Jeep dealerships for inspections and necessary repair or replacement. Remember, this will be carried at no cost to you as a consumer.
A look at your weather. Clear skies in store for Gauteng tomorrow, becoming partly cloudy with temperatures set to drop to overnight lows between 5 and 8 degrees and peak at highs between 21 and 23 degrees.
And in your traffic, in El Dorado Park, there's slow-moving traffic on the N12 West, just between the N1 and Klipspruit Valley Road. In Boksburg, there's queuing traffic there on the N17 East between the R21 and the R23 due to roadworks in the area.
The top story in Eyewitness News. Justice Minister Mamoloko Kubaya says while she acknowledges the concerns raised by South Africans on the immigration crisis, protests must be held in accordance with the law.
They say the early bird catches the worm. Great advice, unless you're the worm. Generic so-called wisdom doesn't work for everyone, so I settle for a financial plan that's one size fits some. Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to get to really know your unique situation. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
The Aubrey Masangu Show on 702.
I cover on my show issues of advisory, whether it is legal matters, whether it is financial matters. I cover day-to-day issues as far as current affairs are concerned. I cover the politics of the day and how we as South Africans are interpreting them. My listener is a curious 702 lander. They want to know what are the backstories, the stories behind what we are hearing on the airwaves. They want to understand what drives the different issues that have us talking. What I love about the 702 family and 702 Land is the fact that we have 702 landers who are responsive, who are present, who care about their communities and who want to know how they can be a part of the process of making our areas better, but also our country better. And that for me is a great privilege. I am totally indebted to the providence out there to be talking to these people on a daily basis.
The Aubrey Masangu Show, weekdays from 8 to midnight.
The 702 Jozi Majozi Walk the Talk is calling on you to walk with the people, for the people, on Sunday 26 July. Babize Bonke. And this year you can choose from 3 different inner city routes. The 5K Victoria Yards route takes you from Ellis Park through the inspirational Joburg Cricket Club into Victoria Yards and past the Troyville Hotel. You then finish off at Ellis Park. So whether you're taking on the 5K, 8K or 15-kilometer route, enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for the 702 Jozi Majozi Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg.
Every morning, same taxi, same rush, same noise. And someone wants something. Your time, your attention. At work, in the streets, on my phone. Scammers, strangers, always calling. Now I have to put my phone on flight mode. Yes, silence, control, peace. The choice is not to put your phone on flight mode. Auto-block the noise by upgrading to Truecaller Premium for just R29.99 per month. Truecaller, trust the real ones. Available on the Play Store and the App Store.
We at Monument Dental are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium when you switch? For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance business insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now. Save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John and the team. This is not related to anything, but there are 2 words that absolutely makes my day every day on your radio station. I'm gonna get this pronunciation wrong. It's an ad that you guys run, and it goes like "Pasisi Bongwe," and I keep repeating it. And the fact that Mandy Wiener says parochial. I don't know what both those names mean, but I just love it. Every day in the car, I just go parochial, Masisi Bongwe.
Yeah. So, Madeleine, I think you're talking about in the ad for the 702 Jozi Majozi Walk the Talk. It's Babize Bonke. And my understanding of it is come and see everything. A way of saying that Johannesburg has so many sights and sounds, and you should come and take it all in. And then parochial means when you have quite a narrow, limited view of the world. So if I think everything revolves around 702 and what the listeners have to say, and I don't pay attention to all the other places in the country where people don't even listen to 702, then you could say I have a parochial view. Or if I think my neighborhood is the only neighborhood of any interest or importance, that's kind of what parochial means, I think. I hope. Here we go. Please keep those messages and calls coming. We're going to play you some African music fairly shortly, but not before. We've had a look at the world of sport.
EWN Sport.
Anthony Teixeira, a very good afternoon to you. What you got for us, please?
Yeah, good afternoon, John. Well, let's start with the French Open as Junren Zheng returned to the venue where she claimed Olympic gold, and unfortunately it wasn't as rewarding, with the Olympic champion suffering a famous first-round exit of the Roland Garros 6-4, 6-love. Is the 23-year-olds here reflecting on that match?
When set 4 in the first set, I didn't catch good, and a lot of returns came, and I remember I lost straight away 7 points in a row, and that's tough.
Straight set victory for Iga Swiatek as well as Rybakina, Paulini and Mertens, and Switzerland came from a set down to win the third set tiebreak as well and advance to the next round. In football, CAF Champions League winning coach Miguel Cardozo called on South African football authorities to have a look at how the sport is run in the country if they want to have more continental success. He was speaking after Mamelodi Sundowns won their second title in the competition, as it's been a long season for them with Champions League, a Betway Premiership and 3 domestic cup competitions to juggle.
Today there's 3 players that are potential Bafana players that are not could not play. Tapel Morena, Aubrey Modiba, Batusi Albas, and they are not here because in the last month they were exposed to something that is not normal. And they also could not play a final that, and they could be useful today. So it's time for people that are in charge of the football in South Africa to really think what they want towards the development of the football in the country. And if they create conditions to really push the teams forward.
Napoli confirmed the departure of manager Antonio Conte less than 24 hours after he announced his own exit during a press conference. They finished second in Serie A, and tension was visible throughout that press conference with Conte and club president Aurelio De Laurentiis as they exchanged words. The president claimed without injuries they would have been champions of Italy, with Conte immediately snapping back that Inter's achievement should be respected. Reports suggest that the professional relationship ended months earlier in the campaign. Injury scare suffered by Lionel Messi ahead of the FIFA World Cup. He was substituted midway through Inter Miami's 6-4 win over the Philadelphia Union. He was seen clutching the back of his leg and walked off straight down the tunnel, although he was walking normally. It's not been confirmed if he'll be returning for the defending champs Argentina, although it's largely expected that he will, with the squad only set to be announced next week ahead of the opening game June 16th against Algeria. And Spain announced their squad for the North American event. Injured Barcelona forward Lamine Yamal makes the cuts. However, for the first time ever, no Real Madrid players will be headed to the World Cup with Spain. It's the first for the 2010 winners. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Right, the latest from the roads, please. Londiwe, what's happening?
And between the N1 and the R23 due to roadworks. In Emmarentia, the slow-moving traffic on the Barry Haddock Avenue between Colorado and Judith Road. In Kayasan, traffic is heavily backed up on Malibongo Drive between South Africa Drive and Northumberland Avenue. Traveling on the M1 South towards the Johannesburg CBD, expect heavier traffic volumes due to peak time pressure between Oxford Road and the Crown Interchange. There's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the N3 South just between Marlborough Drive and Van Buren Road due to roadworks and peak time delays in that area. Sandton is still experiencing heavy delays on several roads, including Catherine Street, Rivonia Road and West Street due to peak time delays. Remember, you can always send us your reports and any other traffic incidents on X at EWN Traffic.
And the EWN Traffic was brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. And you could save on car insurance. If you don't, Ask them for 500 Rand.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Things people stress about in traffic. Number 50 was, as per my last email, too passive-aggressive. Oh, the torture. Well, with the Outsurance pointsmen on your route, at least the traffic is one less thing to stress about. The Outsurance pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so we all get to where we need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In partnership with 702, Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Okay, Kelvin just responding to my explanation to Madeleine says, no, John, babize bonke means call them all. Keta, you can help. Babize bonke. Translate, please.
Call them all, yeah.
Call them all.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There we go. Thank you. Settled. Thank you, Kelvin. Thank you, Keta. Now, you provided our song today. We asked on Africa Day for people to actually choose an African song and an African singer, not obviously from South Africa, but from elsewhere on the continent. We've been listening to Papa Wemba, the track So Why, the Congolese singer. Why did you pick him?
It has a very important significance today as we observe and celebrate Africa Day. It was actually commissioned back in 1997 as part of a campaign against ethnic cleansing, civil warfare, and other violence types. And looking at what's happening around Africa at the moment, I thought it's very apt that we revisit, because they're still asking the same questions. And if you can listen to some of the voices there, Jabu Kanyile is in that song, Yosondo is also there, Lucky Dube is there, Lakbacha from Nigeria is also there. So yeah, I felt that's the one for today.
Yeah, it absolutely is the one for today. So let's take another listen to a bit more of So Why from Papa Wemba. And while you're listening, please come in with your own suggestions. We'll play as many of your songs as we can. But Papa Wemba first. Yeah, Papa Wemba, it's a beautiful piece actually. Not a song I knew before, but I'm enjoying it now. So your suggestions, please, we'll get to them in a moment. It's 9 minutes to 6.
Weekend Breakfast with Googs Mshungu.
702 Weekend Breakfast is about switching gears after what's usually a very busy week. We keep you informed, we keep you on trend, what's happening, what's new, what's delicious, what's fascinating, and keep you company as you rest at the end of the week. What I love most about the 702 family and 702 land is we're this interesting motley crew of people, this diverse group of people from all over the country, all over the world, and we all come together, and it makes for this interesting, fascinating family. And I don't think you can find a more diverse, interested, or more engaged listenership than people who are part of the 702 family and 702 land. And so they listen to us to be their guide to the weekend because they trust Weekend Breakfast.
702 Weekend Breakfast with Googs Mshungu from 6 to 10 a.m.
When it comes to growing investments, Truffle bends over backwards to make sure your assets move forward. For nearly 2 decades, Truffle Asset Management has delivered consistent outperformance for South African investors. With a proven long-term approach, your money keeps growing even when markets get tough. While others chase quick wins, Truffle stays the course. Invest in the value of experience. Invest in a Truffle fund. Visit truffle.co.za.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Still shopping around for a saving here and a deal there? Choose Checkers, SA's #1 in value supermarket, and save on deals like Nescafe Gold Instant Coffee, 200 or 220 grams for R149.99. Save R50. Cadbury Chocolate Slabs, 150 grams, any 2 for R79. And Lovey's Ultra Value Pack Disposable Nappies for R149.99 per pack. Valid until 7 June, only at Checkers.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John Papa from Lenesia. The song it has to be Africa. The artist Salif Keita. Yeah, Africa by Salif Keita. Papa from Lenesia. Have a great show, John.
Hello, John. Hello, 702 family. This is Polan in Pepperidge. Happy Africa Day to everybody. So my favorite African tune is a song by a Burundian songstress, Wale Watu. The song is named Wale Watu. It's sang by Kajanin, Wale Watu. That's my African song. Thank you, Polani and Pepperidge. Bye-bye.
Kajanin from Burundi, Wale Watu. Lots and lots of song suggestions coming in. Let's keep it moving.
That is John. For me, it has to be Oliver Mtutuzi. Neria, oh. That one. I hope I got his surname right. I grew up listening to this man. His music is just, my goodness. Absolutely love it. Neria.
Good day, John and the team. On this Africa Day, my favorite artist, well, there's so many. I mean, we've got Kajanin, we've got Salif Keita, we've got Papa Wemba, we've got Yosondo. But currently, I can play Wes, his song Alane, for hours on end, non-stop. I mean, I feel so connected to that song, man. That's an artist from Cameroon, Wes. Thank you.
Wes with Alane. Wonderful music from Cameroon all the way back from 1997. Lots of songs still to play. Let's see what we got next.
Good evening, Ntate John and 702 Lenders. I'm Casey from the South. Firstly, I would like to say I'm an uber fan of Afro hit, Nigeria, Ghana music. So it was a tough one to choose one song or two songs from Africa. But if I have to choose two songs, second on the list would be Pato Ranking and Davido, Confirm. And number one would be Tiwa Savage, All Over. Yeah, like I said, it was a tough one, but yeah, I do listen to Afrobeat a lot. So those are, from the top of my head, my favorite that I can think of right now, African songs. Thanks, man. Cheers.
It's killing them all, of course. Make we scatter this place tonight. Dance and sweat till life's in a fight. We must settle this thing tonight, yeah. Come, let us catch some feelings for night, yeah. And if you tell me, say make a bello. I don't go waste time, but to do like so. Everybody be Joe, disco, yeah. This love, no be chop and go, hey. Not because of you, I get to go strong.
Tiwa Savage with All Over, and it is all over. Well, just for today, really, on 702 Drive. Certainly not all over with great radio on 702. Stephen Curtis with The Money Show. In a moment, Aubrey Masango taking you all the way through until midnight. Thanks for joining us. We've loved having you. We're with you at the same time tomorrow. Good night.
And now, The Money Show
with Stephen Curtis, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app
and DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by Absa Business Banking. Payment habits have changed. Convenience decides the sale. Stay ahead with real-time payments, seamless checkout, and smarter fraud tools. Good evening on Your Money Show tonight. Pick n Pay suffers another huge loss and pushes out its break-even target by another whole year. Netcare reports strong earnings while the number of people seeking help for mental health issues continues to rise. The Eltron CEOs on your radio 2 tonight as their Netstar brand continues to shoot the lights out. Also this evening, how a lack of investment in public transport costs you financially. And from 7:30 tonight, everything you ever wanted to know about the business of YouTube. All of that to come, but first, the very latest Eyewitness News.
Good evening, I'm Zingisa Chirwa. National Assembly Speaker Togo Didiza has confirmed the submissions of all political parties that will be represented on Parliament's impeachment committee to consider allegations of impropriety against President Cyril Ramaphosa. The ANC has submitted 9 names, which include the chairperson of Parliament's Committee on the Presidency, Doris Mpapane, and several members from the ad hoc committee, which has investigated police corruption, including its chairperson,